Warning. This show contains content intended for adult audiences. The language is crass at best and downright insulting most of the time. This is all made for the sake of comedy and poor sophomoric taste. The skits are parodies, and any similarity to real people or stories is purely coincidental. Any insults hurled at any one human is made in jest. We're just covering our bases for when one of you skins your knee on an internet insult. We love you. Again, this is all a joke, whether you laugh or not. Not just the show, but this waking existence. The great cosmic giggle. Try not to take it seriously.
Should you ever be confronted with the temptation of taking that first puff of a marijuana cigarette, don't do it.
I don't know about you, but as for me, the question has already been answered. Should we be here? Yes.
The business of culture, any culture, is to perpetuate its cultural models. And if the hallucinogenic plants have not been integrated into the cultural model, then they are definitely seen as dangerous forces for an unpredictable sort of social change.
Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, non-binary, sentient artificial intelligence, flora and fauna alike, to the Hoosier Sophisticate Show, Monday night edition, primetime, baby. I'm joined by one of my favorite people around, certainly one of the most talented comedians in the St. Louis area. We're going to start doing just like a guest host spot, but actually if he just wants to come back every day, he's just this is our new host. He doesn't know it yet. This is Will O'Donnell. Welcome, Will O'Donnell. Hi, how are you, brother?
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Craig.
We're going to give
me into a big commitment right off the bat.
I like to do that. We are going to, if there's one thing that's missing in this world, Will, it is the opinions of middle-aged white males.
That's true. When are we going to get our say?
Oh, when are we going to get our say?
When are we going to get our spotlight in the sun?
Give us a chance.
Our moment in
Let us be heard. So we're going to have some fun tonight, buddy, and I'm glad that you joined us. You joined us in studio back when we were in the palatial 920 studios over there off of Hampton, and you told a story, and I'd like to kind of recap it just a little bit, because I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm putting a saddle on you, and I'm riding it right into Duncan Trussell's driveway, because you told a story, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it might have been kind of your comedy origin story.
That's true.
Which is amazing, because if there's one thing that one person that I love, one comedian that I think maybe isn't quite on the radar of a lot of people, because his style is just a little bit different than everybody else, it's Duncan Trussell. I love that dude. He's got kind of a key to my funny bone, and you came in unprovoked. We didn't lead you into it, and you started to tell a story about Duncan Trussell. Can you tell that a little bit?
Yeah, I remember shocking you guys because
Real quick though, we have to do something real quick.
Oh, I apologize.
So Will, as you can see on the screen, can you see it's
Under construction. Yes, we are under construction.
We're still under construction. We're still working on a few things here in the studio. But is there anywhere you would rather go? If you could go anywhere in the world, where do you think it would be?
If I could travel anywhere in the world, I've always wanted to go to India.
India.
Think we can go to India? And it transitioned a little slow, but that's still pretty cool.
Great trick, guys.
All right.
Yeah, not a bad trick.
I should have changed the transition rate, but hey, you get the idea. We're in India now. Enjoy, Will. Tell us your story.
Well, so we're in India, which is actually also kind of befitting. Duncan Trussell is like a guy that He has his knowledge. It's like encyclopedic knowledge of Eastern mysticism and religions, and India falls right into that. In that lane, real nice.
What a nice fit. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice, Seth. You should probably take your camera off just so we can kind of get the full.
I dig it.
Yeah. If you're on a little bit of a delay.
I'm a little behind. Okay. So
way.
you went to, where was it? Probably the Firebird, right?
The Firebird had Duncan Trussell on his tour. He went on a tour. He had like a tour bus, and he went on a tour, and he talked about it on his podcast. I knew about Duncan Trussell from his podcast. I didn't know about him from stand-up.
Sure.
And so when he announced I'm doing this stand-up tour all across the country, I found he was coming to St. Louis, and I could go for like $20 or something,
Sure.
$25. I bought 2 tickets. I invited my hippiest friend. I was like, come see the show with me. You'll love him. You're a real hippy-dippy guy. You're going to love Duncan Trussell.
Sure.
So we came together. We're sitting there drinking some beers. And then I go, you know what? He goes, you want to go in the car and smoke some CBD?
Yeah, I always
was
smoke
like,
CBD,
right,
man.
right.
When I'm
That's
feeling
what
spicy, I smoke CBD.
So we had some CBD out the car, but
Cool.
come back inside. Anyway, opener's amazing, middle's amazing, and then Duncan Trussell comes out. He was a phenomenal comedian. But he opened up his comedy show with "Let's all sing Om," and he burned some incense. Okay.
See, that's what I actually had in mind for this thing to start. Like let's get people's minds right. Let's have a little kirtan, maybe bang a drum. I've got all the shit. I got all the mystical stuff that we can make that happen.
It's made such a cool, it's unique in a comedy experience for sure. Now I've been doing comedy I've been doing comedy for 5 years now. I've never seen anyone else open a show like that. But he goes around the room waving this incense, and he stops in front of me, and like he's going in front of people waving the incense. And he stops in front of me, and like stares and stops in front of me and waves this incense, and like we lock eyes. And it was like a moment, you know what I mean? Like
I do know what you mean.
Like I like Duncan Trussell's face looked old, like he looked like a 10,000-year-old man for a second. Like I was like, whoa.
I'm into that. I'm really into that.
And then I was like, what? And then he moved on, and my wife, now my girlfriend, now my wife, leans over and goes, wow, you got a blessing. And I was like,
you were like baptized into the comedy fire.
I was really stoned. And Duncan Trussell stops in front of me, and so he goes up and does his thing for an hour or whatever. It was really cool. And then it was so cool that I was like, man, live comedy is like the best thing. Like, why don't I go see live comedy all the time? Like, nothing makes me feel this good that live comedy does. Like, I've had a few experiences now with live comedy, and it just feels like the thing that really, really makes, I can't explain it, like the attraction to it. Like, it made me feel so much joy. And so I went, and the only thing available to see was an open mic.
Okay.
So I went to the Funny Bone, and I watched the open mic, and that was the first time I thought, well, maybe I could go up there.
Okay.
So I guess you could say
It was
I
kind of
started
your-
doing comedy.
Because Duncan Trussell gave you his
nudged
blessing.
me in that direction.
Well, that's awesome because when I think about like some of the skits that we've done in the past, some of the commercials we've done in the past, nobody really gets it. Like as far as like what Steve and I were into and Seth was into, like quite like Duncan Trussell does. Like he's a guy that will do a commercial about the most outrageous shit, and he like when he does a live read, I am so much more. Inclined to try whatever product it is that he's hustling, because
Not to mention, maybe you're more inclined to not just go 30 seconds forward, 30 seconds forward, 30 seconds
Hunter,
forward.
I do not. He is the
Look too
only
far,
show. He's the only show I don't skip. And like, sorry to my sponsors. He's the only show I don't skip through. Like, and that's, but not sorry to my sponsors. It's something that I take in consideration. Like that part can also be super entertaining, and the right businesses who we team up with, all of the most awesome businesses, the right ones get it. And they understand that like it's one of those things where if you can put something, I think Casey Weedblog, our buddy James Thomas, put something the other day. He's like, my kid is like listening to something on one of his YouTube videos, and it's reminding me of one of Hoosier Sophisticate's jingles. And that's like the idea is like, we're trying to put a brand at the front of your brain, but also like, hey, these people are cool enough to let us just be irreverent and you know, like have some fun with the help of them at their expense, but also like they're selling a quality product. Here's the promise I'll make to you. If somebody's going to be a sponsor of our show, we're probably going to align and they're going to fit into the community and our, you know, it's not just about money. It's just like you can trust us on the fact that like we really dig these people and what they're doing. And so, by the way, we're going to tell you that like when you go to Sweet Leaf Emporium, it's a place where you can go and buy a piece of glass to smoke your grass. It's also a place where you can go and buy a piece of glass to stuff in your ass. It's both of those things. Like, and I told Jason that today. He's like, hey, I said, hey, man, what is it that you would like us to say about Sweet Leaf on the show tonight? And he's like, man, I would say let's really focus on, you know, compassion, the passion that it takes to be involved in an industry that does make money off of medicine, and also community. He goes, oh, wait a minute. That's what you already do. Go ahead and stick to the glass dildos. I said, okay, great.
Make sure you work in dildo. You got to work that in.
Work in the dildo. All right? I'm not slaving away for nothing here. So Sweet Leaf Emporium, check them out. They got custom glass blowers, all of your smoking accessory needs. And he'll tell you flat out, you go in there, it's none of this water pipe bullshit anymore. This isn't 1998, you know, it's not 2006 when you go in the head shop and you're like, I'm not sure what words I can say, but I need an apparatus to smoke some cannabis. Or you can't even say that. I need an apparatus to smoke. And they're like, oh, you want a water pipe?
High quality tobacco.
Sure, I want a water pipe.
Yeah.
Well, Jason he'll scold you if you go into his place. Like he's like, you want a bong? You want a bong, bud? These are medical cannabis smoking accessories. These are cannabis. I'm not paying the tobacco. Well, I don't want to give away his secrets. These are cannabis smoking accessories. This is a legal medical state. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I like a guy that doesn't dance around it. It's half the reason why we got you in here, Will, because we're not going to dance around it tonight. We're giving them the business, buddy. All right. So,
I'm ready to
what's been going on? How's the comedy? Let's talk about COVID, because we saw you. You came out to the Festa studio. You were one of the comedians that we featured in.
That was so fun.
Dude, it was
that was
so,
one of the best nights.
It was so fun. Like,
right before
it
Christmas.
was an intimate deal.
Man, it was cool.
You know, everybody's in there on their legal D8 gummies from native hemp extract, and feeling good. And you guys got people laughing all along. It really was fun, man. Like, because I know a lot of people have just been itching to fraternize, you know, just to be with friends.
At this point, we've been out a little bit, but at that point, it felt like a lot of people had not been out. And,
totally.
You know, I did several of those shows where it's like, it feels good to be in a room with people and see their face, the whole thing. By the way, when I was waiting to come in here tonight, I was so surprised. I looked up, I look around. There are people walking everywhere. No one's wearing a mask.
Sticking it to the man.
That makes. I just feel like.
Yeah, no doubt.
The tide is turning. I feel like summer's coming, and we're gonna let go of those.
Well,
things.
we elected somebody new, and it's over. That's fine. That's fine. So
he stopped it dead in its tracks, like he said.
But you're right though. See, now I live in Jefferson County.
Right.
COVID has never existed where I live.
I'm hip. I live in St. Charles County. We just didn't do it, and I've never been so happy. I've never been so happy to live in St. Charles County.
It's fucking optional. We opted clear the fuck out of it.
It's been a good year to convenience-wise for me to live out there. But I came down here and I brought my mask. I look around. I'm like, everybody's just out in the open, walking their dogs. At least while they're outside. Okay, maybe by Memorial Day we can just put them away. I don't know. Maybe that's my positive spin on things.
Maybe. Well, here's the deal.
When I started seeing forever, honestly.
When I started seeing the music festivals, like actually announcing lineups, selling tickets, I'm like, certainly, I'm excited. If I can go and hang out with the unwashed for 4 days at a time,
we're gonna rock this summer.
Somebody's gonna drag their dirty, moldy dreads across my teeth.
Dude, it's gonna be a dirty, grungy summer.
And you know what? Like, if that is good, then I don't like. I think, to be fair, if we're just putting the numbers out there.
I tongue-kissed a homeless guy yesterday.
I've probably killed 15 or 16 grandmas at this point. I've killed so many grandmas with my lack of.
Can I be real? Wearing. Those are rookie numbers. I mean, come on, Craig.
Pump up the rookie numbers.
What'd you do?
Gosh,
stay home most of the week?
That's an uncouth joke, but I mean, in reality, I mean, I'm just trying to match up my numbers with their numbers, and I've got a pretty serious body count on my hands.
I'm feeling good about we're pulling out of it. Like, no matter what,
this
thing is about to be over. It's going away.
I agree.
We're going to play some Major League Baseball. We're going to go to games. We're going to go to bars. We're going to go to comedy shows. We're going to concerts.
We're gonna make out.
I get to go to a live concert again. I feel like this summer easy. Maybe May.
Well, buddy, I've got a
Anytime
show
now. Right now,
the
maybe.
first weekend of May. I will be in Columbia, Missouri,
Boom.
to go see a concert that has been postponed thrice, and I couldn't be more excited. And we were actually talking about that
I
group.
think I'm most excited about seeing live music.
Man, me too.
so
Like that's
excited.
something where
It'd been a while
it's a
since I've
great
seen a
date.
good show before COVID shut down. I got a little
That's tough.
lazy with my show, you
Yep.
know,
Yep.
get busy.
Yep, that's tough. We went. I mean, that's something that my wife and I love to do is go catch some live music. Also, just like the Hoosier get-togethers, we were having live music nights at different bars and things like that. We were all coming together, do karaoke, like those kinds of things. We're missing out on that. Just fellowship in general. I think I hope if we learned anything in 2020, it's how vital like human connection is. Like we do think that we can
man.
do like we can do the things that like we're responsible for. We've proved that, but there is really no substitute for human interaction,
Face-to-face
for FaceTime,
communication.
man.
Yeah.
And
quite
speaking of
literally
FaceTime-
face-to-face, not covered up, looking at the whole face.
Yeah, I can't understand you.
I need
with
to
your
see your
mask.
mouth. You know?
I like to see what that mouth did.
Well, I saw a dad walking his daughter when I came in. He's got this cute little girl, 3 years old and all done up. And I walked around, I smiled at her, and I realized like, oh, she can't.
She
see
can't see my smile.
Right, and so
now you're just a ninja in a mask.
right making
weird.
You can't
eyes.
make eye contact with people and not smile. Now you look weird.
agree.
I'm not
I agree.
weird.
I do it all the time.
Well, that's true. Got that beard too.
One of the things actually that I was starting to get to is one of the things that I don't hate much. So before we get into hate, one of the things that we do, and actually you came by my other job not too long ago. We got you fixed up with some shirts. I wore mine last week on the show.
Nice.
And people, got
honored.
some great compliments on it. And so when you came in, I forgot that you had a history with one of my coworkers. Just friends of friends. But he's one of my favorite dudes, and actually, the two of you remind me very much of each other. Very similar energies, very wise words and takes from time to time. And so, one of the things that he and I and my wife and we kind of had this real tight group that was kind of trying to expand our consciousness and get kind of more into existentialism. We were having regular talks all the time. And when we would be out at bars and stuff, we would play a game called Things I Love. And it was the purpose of this game is to find like the smallest thing that people take for granted. And like that's the thing you love. And you kind of start going, turn by turn, person by person. But then what you ultimately end up doing is then you're just so excited you can't even wait your turn. People just start shouting out things that they love, and it's really fun inside of your group of people. But what's great is like when you get to a bar or something like that, and you have a server, and after you make an order or put your order in, then you ask them, "Hey, what do you love?" And you'll always take somebody off guard with that question. And it was something that I was like, you know what? From now on, I will never ask anybody what they do ever again for the rest of my life. I don't care. I don't care what you do for a living. What do you love? And like
Such a better question.
it's a better question, and like on like a a subconscious level, I didn't even realize how much better it was. But like when you ask somebody what they do, you're essentially asking, how can you potentially help me? But when you ask somebody what they love, you're kind of asking them how you can help them. Like how can I share in your joy, right?
Yeah.
So like like this game kind of changed the way that I approached people. Now, the first couple times I asked strangers what they love, they looked at me like I was a fucking rapist. Like who asked that? Like, why would you even ask me that question? That's a super intimate question. It's like, well, because I fucking
fuck away from me, man.
Yeah, like because I'm
ask
trying
me
not
that
to
shit.
waste time here, pal. So I'm gonna ask you I'll give you a couple of small
You gotta give me some examples. Man. Are we talking
so
about...
like for me, when I talk about things I love, I say this every time, but I love, and I don't even wear these often, but like I'm talking fucking brand new out of the package pair of crew socks. Okay.
Ooh.
Like they're never gonna feel that good again as that first time that you pull
Brand
on
new
that
socks.
the brand new socks is my fucking jam. I love it. Fresh laundry. I love the smell of fresh laundry. I don't want to peel too many off, but I'll give you, and it can be anything. It doesn't have to be like a thing. It can be like a moment. our buddy, our mutual friend, his thing was like being next, which is like my favorite answer ever.
Being next.
Because
man, you're throwing some good examples at me. The
like
pressure's
if you're standing in line all day waiting to buy tickets, we're standing in line for an hour, and then like you're on deck, like that's the fuck.
That is a
all
good
those
one.
Poor bastards behind you, you're fucking next. Like that's your moment. In that moment, like you're fucking. It's fucking so great.
You know what's that's deep because being next is better than being the person
being the person
doing the thing.
Fucking A. You still got the anticipation.
Next
is
right?
the jam.
I'm about to get laid.
Dude, it's one of my favorite.
That's the best part. I don't know if that's a good example or
no,
not.
It's
I kind of like
example.
the getting laid part.
I'm next. I'm
like you're
next
at a
line,
gangbang
right?
and
Yes.
like your buddies
Yeah,
just drilling it,
I'm
and you're
number
like,
6.
all right,
yeah, all right.
next.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
I'm next to get up in that. Not fourth in line. That's not bad.
I wasn't seeing it dirty in my mind.
No,
but
I
now
saw
that
it
you
totally
say that,
dirty the whole way. I'm like,
is
this
more fun.
Exactly how this would work out. That's awesome. So I want you to kind of ponder that a little bit because as we dive into it a little bit further, I've got things that drive me fucking nuts. I don't hate them. I don't want to play things I hate. This isn't what we're doing. Practicing gratitude kind of amplifies the good things that are in your life. But there are some things that fucking get in my craw a little bit, Will. And as a dad, as a middle-aged dad, like, you know, I don't have time for nonsense. You know what I mean? So, you know, we can make this a segment. Like, if you have anything right off the top that you can think of that you love, it's underrated. I'll give you one just popped in my head. You ever cracked open a can of tennis balls? Brand new can of tennis balls. That's the fucking one of the best smells you'll ever get.
That's a good one.
That's a good smell.
That's
right?
a good smell.
So it's underrated. And that's
Okay.
one of those things that falls by the wayside. So if you got one and it creeps up on you, you know,
okay.
let me know.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I want to talk about something that fucking drives me up a fucking wall. What's up with captchas? You know what the captchas things are?
Yeah, I hate captions.
Buddy, I can't click on how many. Okay, when it tells me to click on the crosswalk, you think maybe you can get the crosswalk in 3 of the squares instead of like partially like in the 4th and 5th square? I never know if they want like the bulk of the crosswalk or do you want the fucking little thing?
They're like,
I gotta do this 5 times.
pick all the squares that have poles, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Everything's got a pole
Everything's
in it.
does that count? Does that not count?
Yeah.
That's just a prairie. That one's a definite no.
Yes.
But this has got a cylindrical object. Is that a
Shit
pole or
drives
not?
me banana sandwich. I
Yeah.
got no time for captchas. Fuck. Sorry. I'm sorry. I get a little fired up when it comes to internet security. 2FA is another 2-factor authentication. You already asked me for a 24-letter fucking password with a number and a character. Now I gotta have it sent to my fucking aunt's phone for her to approve and then send me I got no time. I don't have this kind of time.
Just take all my private information and let me have whatever I want.
Let me scan my retina
Right.
and let's get this thing
Right.
going.
I'll sign the thing that says you can have access to everything all the time, 24 hours a day.
I've already done that.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into that a little bit in the rabbit hole because even Zuckerberg isn't safe. Isn't that right, Seth?
That is
You got
correct.
anything that you love, Seth? I know you got
man,
plenty that irritates you.
I got things that irritate me. Yeah. What's something I love? Well, I do love discovering things that you like, saying things you can eat or drink, and you've never had it before. And you know, I'm kind of late in the game. I'm gonna be 36 next month. Getting old.
Right on.
I think. I don't know.
gonna be the
Is
same
that
age,
considered-
bro.
I don't care about age. It's like
Just a
all in your
number.
mind, bro. It's just
a number,
Yeah,
man.
we're just on this void, just killing it.
Sure.
But no, I discovered coconut in your coffee is fucking amazing.
Coconut in your
what?
coffee.
Not like shaved coconut, but anything coconut flavored.
Coconut
Are you using
cream
like
or flavoring.
Yeah.
That's
Coconut
interesting that you
flavoring.
say that because something's happened in my body chemically that creamers are fucking with me. It's like I taste the artificial sweetener in them or something. I don't know. It sucks, and that's okay because like I don't mind a nice cup of black cup of Joe.
I'm a bitter black coffee drinker.
I'm a black coffee drinker, but every now and then I want a little dessert.
Every once in a while.
I want a little
Yeah.
dessert.
Turn it
It's a
into a
different
candy bar.
beverage.
And the
When you
only
put milk in
one,
it, it turns into a
the
different
only
beverage.
creamer I can do is coconut cream. That's odd that you say that because I fucking despise coconut.
It's fucking
I'm
good.
You don't
in-
like coconut, but you
I'm
like it in
into
your
coconut
coffee.
cream.
You never had coconut scrimps?
Yeah,
Get you
not
some
my
coconut
jam.
scrimps.
Not my jam. You know,
fucking
I don't
great.
like sweet with my salty. That's another fucking thing that pisses me off.
Sweet
Keep your
and
fucking
salt.
sugar out of my salt, Jack. That's what I'm-
Really? Oh, I'm a big sweet salty guy.
Yeah, not me.
Man.
He's big on segregation of
I like.
taste. He's like, just keep them apart.
I
don't
full-
want my
I like
sweets
full
hanging out with your
flavor.
salties.
That's what
I don't
I'm
want my
saying.
sweets going to schools with all these salties.
One main exemption is chocolate covered pretzels. Big fan.
I was gonna say,
Big fan.
especially
can't miss
yogurt covered
Fucking
pretzels,
hate
the white
pretzels.
ones.
Those are good.
No, I mean, I love pretzels.
Give me a pretzel,
Gus.
dip it in something sweet. on it.
No, but you know something I hate, and this is probably something I've mentioned before. I think I have done this. No, I don't know, but it's an oldie but a goodie, and I know you can definitely relate to this, Will. You're a Quick Trip guy. I'm sick of these fucking lottery ticket people, and I've gone on rants on Facebook about it
There
before.
needs to be a separate line or something.
I'm sick and fucking tired of the goddamn white trash casino that has to slow everything down so
You
this
can't
guy
say
can
that
give his
online.
money
You
away.
can't say WT online. I did it on Will's fucking broadcast like 6 months ago. I typed in what it stood for, and then I got banned for fucking 24
Really?
hours. You cannot type the words
White, and then later on,
and then
perhaps
later
type
on,
the word trash. I think
you
there's like
cannot
12
do that
words in
without
between
catching
there.
a ban. We're good. We're live. We're
I think we'd be.
slipping under
I'm
the-
white.
We're slipping
I
under
am
the AI.
trashy.
Yeah. Are you gonna own it? It's yours.
Yes. But I don't hold up the
Come
line
on,
buying lottery
Facebook, you
tickets.
scanned my retina.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, they
You
don't
know,
No,
you
here's-
know I can say that.
Here's the thing. I want to get a
Everybody
shirt.
gets to say
I want
that,
to get
though.
a shirt that says on the back, if you're here to buy lottery tickets, fuck you. So that way, if the person
I
behind...
will make. Listen, I'm gonna make you that shirt. My wife's got.
Please.
You're behind my
Please
wife.
do.
I got to make her a few things.
Noted podcast producer dies in shooting in St. Louis.
Yeah.
No,
Risha
like-
says that she loves to take the first scoop of ice cream out of the ice cream container. I love that.
First scoop.
I'm
It's
kind of the
exactly
same.
like all the other scoops.
Yeah, but
It's not like
'cause
a
you're fucking up
carbonated
the perfect
drink.
landscape. It's kind of the same way as like when you got a nice fresh blanket of snow, and you're the first footprint in it. Like you are the destroyer of
First
worlds.
person to take a piss in the snow.
No, Seth. I'm not.
You know, we're enjoying
Victorating in
a
the
full
snow.
bloom of spring right now. I mean, specifically when I was a kid, this specific flower. But in the springtime, you open the windows up, you smell the spring flowers. My mom had a lilac bush outside the living room window, and that lilac coming in the.
It's a good smell.
Coming in the window. It's 70. It's 82 today.
Mm.
It's the first time it's been warm in months, and that lilac.
That's a good one.
Man.
That's a real good one. It's a little bit different than the one that I experienced as a kid. We had Bradford pears that were outside of my window, and
Yeah.
I don't think there's a worse smell on the planet. Like
They
if I was
smelled
going to
like
torture somebody,
the
rotten
socks I keep under my bed.
they smell like crunchy socks.
Right.
The socks that can crack a window.
Yeah, I like
The
that.
Bradford pears, dude, they're a menace.
What's the deal? And they're a weak growing tree. Like they.
Well, here's the thing with
limbs are super brittle.
every time you have a big storm, they lose a bunch of
snap.
limbs. But they are a total menace. They're they're the number one invasive species in Missouri right now. Second only to bush honeysuckle. So bush honeysuckle is the thing that takes over everything, and it's
Yeah.
a menace. I've cut thousands and thousands and thousands of stems of it. But the Bradford pears, man. So on the way home tonight. Right now, it's happening now. Now's the time you see them. Every like triangle between the overpasses, they're filled with these white flowered trees. Those are Bradford pears. Those
they
are
are.
wild.
Some
They call them
motherfuckers.
yeah, man.
Fucking.
They're evil. They not only smell like
Yeah, I got you, bud.
But-
Crunchy socks. They smell like crunchy socks.
They're-
They smell
they're
like
bad
crunchy
news,
socks
man.
that were left in like a hot car. Like
they gotta go.
gotta
They gotta
go.
go. They're crowding out every native species.
You're exactly right. They
gotta
are.
go.
You're exactly
They're
right.
hard to kill.
Fuck
Man.
those Bradford pears. Lilac bush, Bradford pear. Things he loves. Things I
That's
could
a
go,
nice
things I
contrast.
could do with
Love, hate, lilac, Bradford pear.
Fuck, that's a great. My wife's real big into hyacinths, and they got a real floral nose.
What's
to
your
them.
favorite? This also things I love. Springtime, just visually the trees. I was coming down my street today. The red buds right now are
Yeah.
popping.
I love that.
I love a good red.
I love
bud.
my. You know what my favorite? Man, people would laugh at me if they knew what my favorite smelling flower was, because most people consider
have
it a
one?
weed. Yeah,
If
most people
somebody asked me,
consider
I'm like, I can't name a flower right now.
most
off the
people
top of my
consider
head.
it a weed, but that's fucking propaganda. That's probably some William Randolph Hearst bullshit. But dandelions are fucking delightful, man. Like I like to get my nose in a dandelion. They
Dandelion?
fucking smell great. They taste good. You can make wine out of them. Like dandelions
Certainly.
are a versatile flower that somebody decided was a weed one day. Roundup did. Big fucking chemical decided one day that fucking gorgeous little dandelions were weeds.
Right. difference between a weed and a flower is what? A judgment?
That's exactly right.
Right? I want it there, it's a flower. I don't want it there, it's a weed.
That kind of brings me into, I had this really powerful psychedelic experience one time where if any stranger would have walked past me in the throes of this, they would have thought that I was a madman. That I was clearly, like, in this dimension, I probably was a madman, and like I made the choice in that moment to like never think that anybody was crazy again, because I just don't know at what stage of consciousness that they are existing. That doesn't mean that they're not clinically crazy. It's entirely possible. I just know that I've been that far on the spectrum where I was like, oh man, if anybody would have caught me at the wrong time, like they would have tried to commit my ass. Like,
as a madman, we're dealing with.
So, and who's making that call? Who's making that call? I don't know.
I'm still freaked out about you have a favorite flower smell? Like, is it in there? Do you have like a top 3?
Oh, what's that?
I don't
Top
know
3?
them. I know I love the smell of a lot of them, but I don't know
Cannabis.
the names.
I love the smell of cannabis. All
It's a
varieties.
nice, good flower. That's a good one.
It's a good one.
I like this. So yeah, like a nice
Lilacs, is
nice-
that a good one?
That's what he was just saying. Lilac bush.
lilac bush. Yeah.
Whatever the Glade. Like when I buy
Glade.
the Glade.
When
Get
I
the
was
lilac.
down in Florida about a month ago.
They have different
and
flowers.
We went through this fruit and spice park, which was really cool, by the way. It was like a public park, and everything that had fallen to the ground was fair game. So knock yourself out.
nice.
But we went in February, so there's not a whole lot that's ripe. But we found some coconuts. We found a couple different things, and but they had this one area that was nothing but herbs, and it was like an herb garden, and it was surrounded by bay rum bushes, and like, dude, motherfuckers straight up smelled like grandpa's aftershave. Like, this bush was just like, if you just took the leaf and just kind of, I'm like, man, I need to grow some bay rum up in my house. That'd be awesome. Skittles likes to sniff coca plants.
I like the smell of tires. You walk into a shop, like you walk to a store that
I
has
like that
tires
too.
somewhere. That's the
That
first
brand new rubber smell.
Yeah, that's the strongest note in like a ATV store. You walk in, you're like, tires.
I dig that. That's a good one.
Tires and gasoline is what it smells like.
I'm a big
It's like,
gas
ooh.
fan. The gas has got like kind of a tipping point,
Right, it's real low.
It's
You wanna
really,
smell it.
It's
The
good
tiniest
for a
amount of
minute, and then
gasoline.
like if you're sitting in your car and there's no ventilation,
Right.
you're like, oh fuck, I'm gonna throw
You
up.
want to like walk into the ATV shop and they spilled like a shot glass worth 3 hours ago in the back of the shop. That's how much gas you want to smell. Any more than that, you're like, oh,
No, I'm
open
not
a
trying to
window,
smell that
somebody.
much. Indelible markers, they're pretty good. I like to get one of them. I understand huffers. I do. I get them. Like
Right.
if it wasn't like it literally exploded, like if it was just based on olfactory delight, I get huffing. Like as far
What's
as
your
like blowing
favorite
up brains.
color of spray paint, Tom?
Well, I knew
They all
guys.
hit you
Metallics. They all
different,
like
bro.
the metallics, man. The
They
metallics
hit
hit you
you
real
different.
deep.
I remember being a kid on the school bus and I had a toothache, and I had a tube of Pepsodent. What was it, Pepsodent? One of them. What's the one for sensitive teeth?
Yeah.
I would put it on my tooth. I'd get a little bit. I'd put it on my tooth, and it numbs it a little bit.
a
A
little-
little numbing
little
toothpaste.
number, yeah, a
So I'm
little
sitting on the
gummy.
bus. I get that tube, and and this kid, he's been watching me. I didn't realize he was watching me. He just looks at me and he goes, tasty? Like, not making fun. Like, he was like,
legitimately
he's
curious.
like, you get a little toothpaste every once in a while, just get a little taste. And I was like, no, man, I got a
What
toothache.
if I get a hit of that Sensodyne?
He was like, sure, you got a toothache, man. It's cool. I ain't gonna judge you.
Yeah,
It's just
fine.
like, yeah. Get a tube of toothpaste every once, just a little, like the mint. Which now that I'm saying it out loud, actually, is probably not a bad idea.
That's not a bad play.
A little,
just a little refresher.
just it's good as a mint, except
think
probably
so.
more effective. Just
I would think so.
Swish that around,
Yeah,
swallow
get
it.
your little daily intake of fluoride.
get your fluoride.
Yeah, no doubt.
I know fluoride sponsors this show, right? These are big
Fluoride does
proponents.
sponsor this show.
Just the idea
The
of
good people
fluoride
at Dow
existing.
Chemical
Chalk
or
up that
whatever.
pineal gland so that you don't understand anything these guys are saying. Fluoride. Alex Andrite says stargazers. She likes the smell of stargazers, or maybe the look of stargazers. Maybe
Is
the
that a
smell.
flower?
Yeah, I
I'm
think
so ignorant. I don't even know.
I'm gonna look them up.
I'm
right
learning,
now.
man. I'm learning plants. That's my new passion.
I don't know what the hell I was.
I'm into it.
Here we go.
I'm walking
Oh,
around
that's
the
a pretty
woods.
good-
I got the Seek app. Amazing. SEEK, Seek.
Dude.
You just scan the leaf and it goes, boop, red flowering dogwood, boop,
No shit.
eastern red bud. Amazing. Like, it's my favorite app of 2020.
Does it do fungi too, or only?
Yes.
Oh shit.
Now, I would say maybe it's not as good at fungi because there's so many that are so close together, but it'll get it down close to like the
Stargazers
almost
are
down to the last cat.
gorgeous.
It'll give you a category.
The hell's a
pretty.
stargazer?
Oh, that's nice.
It's
yeah.
a
I can
lily.
see
It's
like
a lily
little,
of sorts.
Oh, those are- yeah.
like
It's
a
a
little
lily,
shot.
Those are
stargazer
beautiful.
lily.
I know all the flowers by sight. I just don't know their names.
Sure, I get it. I get it.
I can kind
But
of
I'm
see a
gonna learn
little
them,
shop
dude.
of horrors like scenario with Will. Like you try to grow your own, and like you mess up, you spill some chemical, or you leave the microwave on, and you come home, and there's just like a mutant.
I'm a total novice, but like I could get into flowers.
I'll tell
I
you
could get
what,
into growing flowers.
if you're into horticulture, botany, flowers, whatever, there is a social media follow called Crime Pays But Botany Doesn't. And it's like this hardened criminal that I guess spent probably all of his time.
Is this the dude with the heavy Chicago accent?
Yes.
That guy's amazing,
He's
man.
awesome, dude. And
Yeah.
he just goes around like shitty parking lots where like shit is growing invasive.
He can identify anything by sight and give you the
Everything.
background information.
He's
on it.
amazing. My
I'm
brother
into
turned
it,
me
man.
on to him.
I've
It's
really
so-
been.
I've watched more 20-minute videos of that guy's than probably like.
I gotta go follow him because that
It's
stuff
great.
fascinates
It's great.
me.
Crime pays.
He's
but botany
hilarious.
doesn't. Cedar is the best smelling trees.
Oh, cedar! I love cedar.
I love a good little chunk of cedar. Moonflowers smell amazing. I'm not familiar with too many moonflowers or any moonflowers for that matter. I'm just gonna find out what we got here. Moonflower. Oh, okay. All right.
I put in a little plot of wildflowers last year. That's about as easy as you can go. I just
We did.
dug up some dirt, throw them down, stomp them in, and I had
Did they
some,
pop up?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I had an amazing wildflower patch. That's when I realized like I could get into this.
We made like little wildflower seed bombs with the kids, and we are just like tossing.
Well,
these things everywhere.
wildflower is a type of flower.
It's like it's a
Category.
It's a mix of.
Oh,
flowers.
because I felt really stupid for a second. Because when I hear like wildflower, I think like you found it outside, and if you grow it yourself, it's just a regular domesticated.
well, they
It's
grow.
at that point, it's a domesticated.
yeah, I guess
flower.
that's it.
Yeah.
So
they got
I
feral
was today
flowers.
years old when I learned that. That's.
I guess that is it. They,
kinda
the
half
ones that
wrong.
are there that made themselves are wildflowers, and they grow in the wild. And then there's a lot of varieties, of course, that have been carefully crafted over the years that are not.
Sure.
Right. So it's like vegetables are.
Yeah.
Like they make
got, like,
you know,
so many
oranges
people
aren't
chiming in with
natural.
flower
You know what I mean? That
scents.
took hundreds of years.
Honeysuckle. Yeah,
oranges.
these people they're out of control. These people are out of control.
It's crazy the things you throw at them to get them to like respond and get a response out of them, and like you never know what it could be. You throw in like, what's your favorite flower scent, and people are just tearing it up.
So
They're arguing on the thread here. Just like,
good.
We got
screaming
into
at each
controversial
other.
issues
Fuck
right
you.
away.
Yeah,
too.
for
We
sure.
got
Every
into
now
it.
they're talking about Biden.
are they?
They're talking. No.
How do
I'm
we get
kidding.
to that?
That's it. It can happen. I've seen it.
I've seen it turn real sour real fast. One of the things that we would like to do, and we will do here shortly, soon, is we're going to, in the same vein that we did at the out at Sweet Leaf and Festus, we're going to host another comedy night, and I think we're going to try and do something at the Spanish Society. We got a huge area, so we can fill a bunch of people in there. We got a beer bar. It's going to be awesome. So, Will, you're invited.
Cool.
We need to get you out there. But
do
yeah, we just saw Merck and Fromper just mentioned that we need to have a comedy show at Sociedad Española, and I am down for it. So, while we were thinking about that, yeah, totally into it. Hey, real quick,
Yeah.
Seth, I wanted to kind of go around the world a little bit. Can we do that? Can we riff a little bit about the different things that are going on? We got there's a data breach. The Russians are up to some fucking nonsense. We got robots that are sexist. Amazon's pissing in bottles.
We got a lot going on.
We got a lot of
Craig, you're
stuff
right.
going
You
on.
mentioned-
And me and
you
Will are just
mentioned
going to kind
all
of
of it.
react to them a little bit. So, let's
Great
start.
setup, by the way. I'm just trying to decide where I want to start.
I'll
here.
tell you what. You lead the
Exactly.
way. I just want to go around the world with my buddy Will.
You know what? Let's just start off with the scariest story, and then we'll just go from there.
Let's do that.
Russia appears to have developed a nuclear weapon capable of sneaking along the bottom of the sea and detonating along the coastline to flood the area with what one official described as radioactive tsunami. So I'm looking at like almost like a Sharknado situation here,
Or at least a
only
Fukushima.
crazier.
Yeah, man, that's okay. So I wouldn't.
It's
even
called
sure-
Poseidon
category
2
of-
M39 torpedo. That's
All
the name
I
of it.
saw was Russians had potentially a nuclear tsunami, but I've never really considered how easy that would be to do.
if you've detonated,
Well, if you know how to make a nuke, you got to get past.
if you're
that.
one of the major world powers that are,
you got to
holding
be a
it,
scientist.
They've got plenty. They've
if
got
you're
that
one of the
warheads.
3 world powers that are holding, fucking 90% of the nukes, then you can probably find a
Or if you have a
vehicle
buddy
to
that's-
take it along the ocean floor.
If you have a buddy that's a scientist and can make the nuke, the rest is fucking easy peasy, bro. You just got to find a way to set that
no
fucker
problem.
off. You know?
No problem. That's kind of a freaky deal. What do you just like take a little remote control?
Man,
car
I'm feeling
along this-
nostalgic, like the '80s. The Russians,
Cold
the
War
Russian
is in
nuclear
full effect.
threat. This is fun, right?
Yeah, the Cold War is in full effect.
Have you guys heard that new Michael Jackson album? It's incredible.
It
No, this
is
feels
really good. It is really good. Matter of fact, there's a new Jimi Hendrix album. There's a new Nirvana
there
album,
is.
and there's a new what's her name? What's the gal's name? Help me out.
Amy Winehouse.
Amy Winehouse. That's her name. And there's her album too. But it like there are like a lot of weird things. I grew up a kid on the tail end of the Cold War, so
same.
I was in kindergarten.
How old are you?
I'm 36.
Okay, yeah, I'm
When
40.
when I was in kindergarten.
So you barely remember it at all?
Yeah, when I was in kindergarten,
yeah.
the Berlin Wall.
Because
fell
I
down.
barely. Yeah, I was in like whatever 4th grade when
Yeah.
the Berlin Wall came down. So, but I sort of absorbed it up until that point. Right,
I
I knew
think
the
that you-
Russians. I watched Rocky IV, and I was like, Russians are the most evil people,
Dude.
ever.
The thought of Brigitte Nielsen's heaving cleavage as Drago is like on the ropes, just getting worked by Rocky. That shit still to this day. We're going to talk about some childhood crush stuff later on, but like thinking about that, it still bones me up. Flavor Flav was hitting that a couple of years ago.
Oh.
But I remember that, and I was just like, oh man, that's when I really. There was a couple things before that, but that was when I really knew that I liked boobies. Was like, as Drago was getting the work,
Right.
and she was just,
You knew it because
Heaving.
like she was evil, dude.
she was evil, and I was
She
still
was
here
one of
for
those
every
Russians,
bit of
and
it.
you didn't give one damn, and you
No.
were like, oh, okay.
Okay, I'm into
I'm
it.
willing to look past some stuff.
I am willing to look past your awful ideologies
I'll look past
for
everything.
one ride on Space Mountain.
Right.
You know?
Won't even blink.
Not even once. Russian thermonuclear detonation underwater. What does that look like? Does that wipe out a whole coastline? Like at that
That's
point,
pretty much worst. That's like the worst thing that I could imagine happening.
Yeah,
right?
it's raining radioactive waste.
Right.
Well, and actually,
nuclear
to take it a step further, it will eventually probably be raining radioactive waste,
Right.
right? Like, isn't that probably how it worked with Fukushima and everything else?
the ocean's not dying fast enough. Let's go ahead and give it one big
Let's give it
toxic,
superpowers.
one giant.
Dude,
just
actually,
kill
carbon-
1/3 of the ocean in one blast.
Carbon dating
Go
is
ahead and-
going away. Did you know that? Like in the future, like they're not like future scientists and paleoanthropologists aren't going to be able to use carbon-14 dating because of all the nuclear bombs and nuclear tests have like completely fucked up the carbon-12 to carbon-14 ratio in the atmosphere. So you can't use that math equation to use those isotopes to date things.
Okay.
So they got to find different
Every now and
isotopes.
then
that-
Seth will drop some fucking knowledge on you, and you're like, where did that come from with your
Yeah.
isotopes, pal?
So yeah, they'll have to find different ways to date things. Like when we're dead, scientists that like are studying whatever the fuck all this is, they're just gonna have a huge margin of error of when we actually existed. And
Yeah.
well, no, I think everything that's dead now we can pretty much date. But yeah, it's
There'll
going.
be plenty of plastic bottles lying around.
There's enough.
lot of
There's
trash.
enough there. That is a. I mean, I wonder what our answer for that.
The
is.
Earth is gonna be fine.
Is
Plastic
everybody,
was invented on
everybody
Earth.
like sitting in the war room, in Langley, Virginia, or something. Like they're laughing. They're like, they think the Russians are the first ones with this. We've got a whole fucking nuclear gate on the sea floor around Crimea.
Right.
You know, like I don't know. Like I want like a.
You think our subs can't?
First off, how do we
that?
find out about it?
I don't know. Right.
Who leaked this information?
Yeah.
Is it something they want us to know at this point? Like, there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. Like I saw, not to stray too far from our topics, but like we're trying to get to Mars. Elon's bringing the heat. He's doing everything he can to do it. Matter of fact, one of the Hoosiers today was gloating a little bit about being hooked up to Starlink, which is really cool. Like I know we have a lot of rural fans that like internet is just not an option for them. And it's one of the things that we just kind of take for granted.
Satellite internet.
Just decently fast internet and now Starlink gives them whatever 200 megs up, 200 megs down, internet everywhere all the time.
What's Starlink? That's internet.
So Starlink is it's like a series of hundreds, if not thousands, of satellites that that SpaceX has put into lower orbit. And every now, my brother and I, last year during COVID, I got a honey-do list. I'm at home, not working. Got a couple extra bucks. Let's put a deck back on this thing. And my brother and I are working on this deck. And he's like, "You heard about Starlink?" And I'm like, "Nah, I don't even know what you're talking about." He's like, "Oh, dude, it's these fucking satellites." He tells me the whole story. I'm like, there's satellites. They're going to provide internet to all of these different rural areas. Eventually, it's going to be a grid that provides fast internet to everybody on the planet. And I'm like, well, that's cool. Like, it seems like. And as soon as like the sun went down, we're sitting out back. I think I had some meat on the grill or something. We're having a couple beers. Dude, this line of stars just starts shooting across the sky. And it was like, I mean, it happened for like, I don't know, like a minute, like a solid minute across the sky. And it was like 100. It looked like 100 stars. And they're just in a perfect single file line until they disappear behind the horizon.
That's Starlink.
And I'm like, holy shit. Well, apparently a bunch of astronomers were bitching and moaning about it. And so they changed it, like they just turned them just a little bit so that they didn't reflect the sun's light. And so now you can't quite see them.
Joke.
Dude, it's fucking wild.
Because I mean, every time, it's been a while since I've looked at the night sky, but it's mind-blowing how many satellites are up there moving around. I've never seen 100 of them linked together, but there's so many.
It's wild, man. It's like, so eventually that grid is going to just cover the whole,
crazy.
oblate spheroid that is Earth and provide internet to everybody. Now, what is he going to charge for that? I have no idea. But I feel like if it was anybody but Elon, I just wouldn't be good with it. Like, Elon, for some reason, feels like
he's gonna
chaotic
do something
good.
Yeah,
like he feels like he's just like doing he's like,
like
oh, you wanted to fucking make fun of me and pick on my male pattern baldness while I was developing PayPal. Well, guess what? I got hair now. I named my kids fucking math formulas, and I'm giving everybody internet on the earth. What's up now, motherfuckers? Like that's what I hope, because the alternative is like.
Getting made fun of is what drives them. It's
Yeah,
all
I
ego.
Hope so.
I hope so.
I hope so, man. I hope like you remember fucking that kid that made fun of me? He's like, I mean, my dad owns a fucking emerald mine, and they were still making fun of me. Fuck these guys. I'm giving them all free internet. See how much they like that. Like just being kind out of spite. I love it. That's kind of where I'm living. But anyway, back to Russian nuclear tsunami is officially terrifying. What's the next spot around the world, pal?
Well, you mentioned leaking earlier, and this is interesting. Back in 2019, hackers stole the personal information of over 533 million Facebook users from around the world. Now that information is available online, according to Insider, and it turns out that it's so expansive that it even includes Facebook founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg, as I call him.
Oh, you are witty, man.
Take that, Marcus. CEO Mark Zuckerberg's personal data. That would how much
530 million people.
530
here's the
million
deal.
people.
Eventually, we talk about the singularity, right? Like this moment when AI and humanity kind of crosses over, and basically all of our basic needs are going to be met. And then, like, what do we do at that point? Well, leading up to that is going to be this thing, which I feel like, I know it's kind of a buzzword, but like cancel culture in general. Like the idea of somebody making an irreparable mistake that they'll never be forgiven for, and they should eventually, with social media and the way that it's kind of working, we're all going to have to live our most uncomfortable truths. I just don't think. I think at
I know where you're going.
At some point,
right?
We're just going to have to. Like whatever it is that you want to keep secret, whatever skeletons you're hiding, those are coming out.
Right. If somebody wanted to know them and wanted to hold it against you, they would have it. And they would know the most embarrassing things you can possibly be embarrassed about.
Yeah.
There's a record of it. You talked about it. You emailed about it. You sent really embarrassing messages.
100%.
That I would not want. What?
If Facebook took 530
That's a scary thought, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah. But you know what? It's also a liberating thought. Like the next step of that
you
is
have to learn to
after
not give a
everybody
fuck.
lives
You
in
have
their
to.
shame, but then they realize that literally every person has like some level of shame. Now there will probably be
But see, just because of the needle in the stack of needles, why would it ever come to light for the average Joe? So does he continue to live in fear that what if Here's a good Black Mirror episode that maybe I
Maybe
saw
we
it, or
pitch
maybe
it.
I'm inventing it just now. Yeah. Once a day there's a lottery and they data dump somebody, so you constantly live in fear that they're going to draw your card.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
We're
Well,
gonna, we're
they
gonna
did-
make you
they
famous.
did
You're gonna be
do
famous for one
They
day.
did do one that was
You
kind
are
of
the
based on
Can you imagine?
canceling, which was like somebody. It was like a whole Twitter thing, and like they.
Yeah.
It was a pretty dark episode from what I remember. It was like ended up in murder and everything else. But there is something to be said for it's like once we kind of all come to grips with the fact that like okay yeah most of us because we're human and to be human is is to be fallible, like most of us have made unsavory choices, and at some point once we become able to live our truths and have like kind of our reality exposed on the regular, then I think that you might even be more like it's almost a pro cancel culture argument in that it's just at this point speeding up the inevitable. Like we need to get past this thing where it's like we're not allowed to make mistakes because then we're no longer allowed to succeed because that's not sustainable.
Yeah.
In society,
Yeah, I think about it in comedy, like there's comedians who have been so clean, right? You think of Bill Cosby. He was the king of clean comedy. He's the king of comedy. And he was so
outspoken
being clean was such a big thing for him.
Yeah.
And he turned up to have the darkest demons. Right?
Yes.
And so I say let that shit out on the stage, right? I like comedians who talk about dark, weird shit.
Me
and
too.
they're
Blue
truthful
comedy
about
is like my jam.
They're truthful about, that's so I just feel like
It's funny how Louis C.K. It's like you watch his act and it's like that's 100% who he is. He's not joking at all.
but
It does feel he's that shitty of
Yeah.
a person, and just it's like he goes on stage to admit it.
Well, and even
I
then,
want to be able
like,
to talk
feel
about shit and be real. You know what I mean?
I think that it comes
I wouldn't
across.
want to get backed into a corner where it's like I got to go and play the squeaky. I got to play Ellen DeGeneres on TV every day on network TV. I think it came out recently that she's the biggest
It's
jerk
ultimately
ever.
what breaks.
She's
no
the biggest
doubt.
jerk ever. Yeah, because she's got to fucking do this gig.
And
It's
because
not,
you have
she's not fucking
expectations.
relaxing on a podcast talking about how she really feels about
And
things.
because you
She's
have
gotta
expectations of how
NBC,
nice she is.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, people
It's
have
an
unreal
Drive
expectations.
anybody insane.
They have unreal expectations about how nice she is because she gives away fucking cars and shit. It's like, no, she's still a human.
The pressure,
yeah,
right?
that's an insane amount of
The pressure. Think about the hundreds and hundreds of people who get a lunchbox and go home every day because of her, and she can't let them down. And you know what I'm saying?
Dude, yes.
And she has to play this squeaky clean NBC
Well,
character.
and that's something that, like, to take it into that canceling aspect.
And
is
what
like,
if they found something about me online and they put it online and now my show got fucked up? So that's like the upper level, right? Mm-hmm. But even the common person on the street, you could really get screwed up, right?
Oh, big
You go famous on Twitter for something, and then people are,
yeah.
wreck your business, wreck your.
Talked about that so much, like.
You could easily wreck your career. That's the first thing. Boom,
Especially,
you're fired.
especially if it's fair game to just be able to take snippets of what someone says, like in a long form conversation.
You better roll two of those, buddy. Just keep on
I got
rolling.
you, bud. I got you. But like, especially if it's like it's getting to where, like you have people that are just taking like a small little clip of what you said that that was really just building on a much bigger point. There are so many people that draw. Like to have to be careful about every word that you say. It's just. And look,
I kind of
think
feel like
that it makes some things better. I do think that people are being held accountable for shit that shouldn't otherwise fly, but also, there's a lot to be said for giving people grace. It all comes down to grace. It's like giving people the benefit of the doubt that, probably every now and then I'm going to say something that pisses you off. The person that I love the most in this world, who I'm going to go home to tonight, I'm going to say something in the next few days that's probably going to rub her the wrong way.
Yeah.
She still sees me for who I am and for the person that I love because we've given each other enough grace to explore that in one other. But I'm never going to agree with everything that she says and vice versa. And, that grace should be extended probably even more so to people that you don't know. Now you can decide how much time you want to make for other people's viewpoints in your life. That's fine,
Right.
and how much real estate you want to give that in your brain.
But I want that person to lose his or her career because
Well, and
they
not and like when
express
it's
an opinion
and
that
when
I
it's a
disagree
small
with.
business owner,
Come
it's
on.
not just that person's career,
Right.
Like you were saying,
Right.
Like
It's
the people that are attached
Could be
to
a
Ellen.
lot of people who
There's
rely.
a lot of people drawing a page. There's a lot of kids going to school
Right.
because of that gig.
Right.
You know, and so it's an interesting thing that we need to constantly kind of be. I mean, right now, if 530 million, that's probably a quarter of Facebook's users whose data has been breached, and chances are our data's probably been breached before that. You know, I mean,
So many times.
so many.
Somebody's
fucking
So
times.
I
my
wonder.
shit.
I don't know.
That's what's crazy. Somebody's probably read some of the
I'm
shit.
a
I've-
Luddite, but I don't know how it works. Like, is that stuff just out there somewhere and it can be discovered later? I don't know.
I would
gotta be
say
a database
usually
How much
the
of
people,
my data
usually
do
the,
they have?
Yeah, usually the people that acquire it, I would say, would just sell it on the black market.
Right. It's
to
a huge amount of data, and
advertisers
they want to.
and then those people have to comb it. But guess what? There's
But
algorithms
someday,
that search that.
someday,
you know.
can someone find it? Right.
If you ever make anything of yourself,
Right.
right, and that is something that we
24 years later, and you go like, you know what? I
The
want to
one-
be. I want to be
Yes.
an alderman. I
the
wanna make a
one
difference in
place
my
where I
neighborhood," and
think
they go,
it
not
really,
so fast.
Yeah, the
motherfucker."
one place where I think it's going to come to a head quicker.
When you were walking home from a bar after college one night, you yelled something out on the street, and now you don't get to be an alderman.
You don't get to be
Oh,
anything
shit.
better in your life than what you
Right.
were when you were a drunken piece of shit in college.
right.
That's sorry. That was the decision.
I don't know how many times I've thanked God
Dude,
that I grew up when I did before cameras, before
doubt.
cell phone cameras.
No doubt.
The stupid, irresponsible shit we did, the fucking that would have been filmed and taken pictures of, and
Yeah, and I think that it comes to a head in politics first. And actually,
Yeah.
oddly enough, love him or fucking hate him, whatever. Like he was actually kind of the first domino was Donald Trump. Like it's happened before. I mean, what were you gonna like? Well, Clinton did it in house, right?
Well, there was also the allegations of when he was an Arkansas governor as well. Because I was going to say that too. Like, anytime
What are
you
we
run for
talking about?
office, you got to sit there and think, okay,
It's somebody's
since I
job
was
to scrub
18
your
years
history.
old,
oh well, yeah. When
What
you're running
the
for
fuck?
president, that's the ultimate. They're scrubbing everything you ever did.
And I get all of that, but also it's like getting to a point where, like, here's why I say he's
Well,
the
it's good-
first domino is he was kind of the first politician where witch hunts. Well, and I again, you know, when Clinton got impeached or whatever, like there were certainly people that were coming to his defense, but like the shit that Trump could say and get away with, like when they say, "Oh, he fucking
right.
did this,
Right, right.
he did this
Yeah,
with
he
this
broke
porn
the-
star," and he's like, "Yep,
he
Who
broke
the
the. He
fuck
broke.
he broke that thing."
He broke whatever we were doing. Whatever we were doing.
Yes, that's and for that I'm
Obama was the
grateful,
last
actually.
one doing it.
Yeah,
And then Trump
he
came
was
along.
really good at it.
And now, yes, he was born for that role.
And it is a really interesting.
It was the
thing
craziest thing.
because
Having a president every day. It was like, oh, go fuck yourself. Just go fuck
it
yourself.
was the dude. It's
You're
here's
fat,
the thing:
you're
is
ugly. You got saggy titties. Go fuck
Go
yourself.
fuck yourself. And everyone was
people
like,
are
well,
like-
"What do we say now?"
Well, half the country for 4 years just went, did you hear what he said this time? That
And I'm
was the
like, I
news.
don't have time.
That was the news. Every day.
I know.
Every day for 4 years. They went,
know.
did you hear what he did this time? And I kept going like, it doesn't matter. That's his thing. And they never learned for 4 years. They just went,
Yes.
did you hear what he did this time?
And
Yeah, that's what he does.
Yeah, I
If
caught
you
on-
give him
I
a
caught on to
microphone,
this when he
he'll
started
do
running.
he'll riff an hour of stand up.
Dude, unbelievable. I give him this
Like a
props
fucking
on that.
WWF
Like,
cage announcer.
so much.
I
of the-
love those press conferences.
Dude,
he
so
I'm
much.
glad
loved
they're
inviting.
over.
Like Biden doesn't even do
I
them or
don't
some
love
shit.
them. I'm glad they're over.
I am too. I am too.
He just
but
brings them in and
also,
rips on them to
like,
their face.
Here's
and
the
it's
thing:
great.
is you know how sometimes you kind of wish for something and then you get it and you're like, oh fuck. You know, like my whole life, I'm like, God, I just wish we could have one seemingly articulate person
Well-
expose this fucking media for what it is.
Yeah.
And what we missed part was the articulate person. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? For instance, if Barack Obama comes out there with the fucking swagger and charm and oratory skills that he has and starts exposing fucking like where like they're reading a news script across all of the like
Right.
if he's the one that does it, like I do think that like a massive change like in the hive mind takes place. But because it was coming from like this fucking 74-year-old petulant child, like who was like who we know shits on gold toilets. Like, it was really hard for half the country to fucking swallow. But he was also, like, what worked for him was also the fact that he was kind of saying what, like, a lot of people who live in the middle of nowhere is like, that ain't my fucking world, CNN. I don't live in that fucking world.
Matt Taibbi wrote a book called Hate Inc. and broke down how it's the media's fault, basically, right?
Dude, I see it right now.
How it's the media's fault, and like they got what they deserved. Like they built this absurd game that you had to play to become president.
Yeah.
And it was absurd, and everybody knew it was
And he
absurd.
gamed the system and beat it.
Everybody knew it was full of shit, and everybody hated it. But you couldn't do anything. That's the game. You have to play it. And this guy came along, and he flipped it on his head. He was like, "I don't give a fuck. I'm not playing it."
Yep.
And he won. Somehow he eked out a victory. I'm glad it's over.
Me too.
I'm glad it's over.
I
didn't like him. I didn't support him. I know a lot of people I love do and did, but the way he irritated the other side is not healthy.
Right. Like, that's not how I.
A lot of that's on them.
Well, that's fair.
That's true, but
also I'm with you. Like, when I try to get someone to see another point of view, the last thing I'm going to do is say, "Hey, idiot, check out this other point of view."
Right.
I'm going to be like, "Hey, like, I love you for all of these different reasons. Have you ever thought about looking at it this way?"
You want to say about him, you want to say like, well, if only he could have been a fucking grown-up, then it would have been different. But that's the thing, is that he's not a grown-up.
Right.
He couldn't get away with what he got away with if he were like a real person.
And I'm not sure that he
could be held accountable.
I'm not sure he gets
for
to
the wild
office.
shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm not sure he gets to the office that way either. Like, I think that's because, let's be honest, like, there were really great candidates in like 15 leading up to 16. Like, I'm a huge Rand Paul guy. Like, I love fucking Rand Paul. I did. Like, he was the first person like I donated to a presidential campaign.
He would have had to play the game, and he would have lost it in the first second of the game.
Well, he did. That was the
right.
deal. Like,
he can't be.
And I watched it this year.
He
with
can't
Tulsi.
go. No one.
I'm a big Tulsi Gabbard fan.
So,
like,
I don't know what comes after Trump as far as like. There's not.
Where does their party go?
Somebody said something a few years ago that freaked me out. They said, "You think Trump is bad? Wait until the left's Trump emerges." And
I don't even know who that would be.
It doesn't exist right now, but
Yeah, I
because
don't
you
know
can't
who that
imagine
would
like
be.
who that it doesn't exist. But what if it did exist?
I think that you'll see. I think that you'll
Would they be
see
like
that-
super PC?
Well, I think what you do is you see that happening, in smaller voting districts, maybe in municipalities.
Right.
You'll see where, more radicalized or further leaning left places will vote out somebody who's a moderate or whatever for somebody who's
got
like
weird times
an
ahead on that front.
unabashed socialist or communist. Like, actually, let's just put the socialist word aside for a second. There are people who are unabashed communists who are like, no, this is seize the means of production. This is the fucking thing, and I'm like,
Right.
And we don't have to get down that rabbit hole too far, but yeah, that's crazy. Like, that pendulum swings. Right? That pendulum absolutely swings.
Well,
and
as
honestly, if
politics-
anybody on the right, like, they should be happy with what they got, because it was the furthest right candidate of everybody on that stage, save for maybe, I don't know, Klobuchar or something like that. I'm probably still even further right of that. Like, a pretty moderate.
What are we talking about,
lifelong-
Biden now?
Yeah, Biden.
Right.
A moderate guy. He's been fucking in D.C. for 45
The most
years.
generic corporate.
He's gonna give you
Like, he's the
most of
most
things
generic
that you
corporate
want.
candidate you could imagine.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
The most.
So I don't know what that pendulum looks like, but what I do wonder is, what does it look like? What are the like? And again, I don't want to lose too much to this, but where do the Republicans pivot to? Because it's one of those things where,
Right.
did you learn
That's a
a
great
lesson?
question.
Did
No,
you learn a lesson?
You
Because
gotta
it doesn't
find-
appear so.
Well, here's the
No,
problem,
It
Craig.
doesn't appear so.
No. One thing that we can count on from both parties is they do not learn lessons.
Yeah,
They're not in the lesson
no, they
learning
have to-
business.
they have to
You
follow the
had a
agenda
guy that
regardless.
presided over a booming economy, all
There's
these
no-
things.
I mean,
Did
we're-
you
we're-
learn a lesson about what, maybe just using manners and speaking to
No.
people like they're people? Like, have you learned anything there? Like, you got anybody that's got similar ideas but maybe fucking knows how to MC a fucking karaoke night?
I think we go deeper and deeper into chaos
It's
before
gonna be
things
fucking crazy.
Well,
before
here's the-
things get so bad that something happens.
Well,
But it's going to get more chaotic, I feel like.
Well, here's the problem. The right, they have to find one of these celebrity politicians. They need to have their club within the party, like the Democrats have with their Bidens. and
yeah,
their
but they
Harris.
don't.
But because even, like, when you have these people no one's ever really heard of, like Tulsi Gabbard or
Tulsi was the
Andrew
shit.
Yang,
Yeah.
somebody like that.
Mhm.
People take them about as serious as a third-party candidate anymore. Like,
And
oh
they've
yeah, they're
got-
cool, they're a real politician, but they don't stand a chance.
And they've got,
and
like-
they put these fake polls up like it's only 13% of the country likes them, and then you go on social media, and I know.
But if
like,
you
people don't
listen
take
to them in the debates, like
Tulsi
somebody
got
had a somebody,
rocked, our
dude,
current
somebody
VP
had a
like
great,
a motherfucker.
We've realized that
Knockout.
there's no getting around this. Like we're
she
gonna
ended her
get
chances of being the president.
yeah, Kamala, yeah, no
Yeah,
doubt.
she knocked her down to.
No
It was a
doubt. She
race for
bodied her.
second after that.
Yeah, you're right.
Fuck.
I think I saw somebody come up with a good idea. Is like, what if we did debates and elections like the Masked Singer? Like, if somebody just had to go up there with a voice changer on their ideas and they wore a big fucking mascot head and you didn't know who they were underneath it, like, and you were just voting on ideas, you know?
I feel like at this point, like even just the idea that it was actually fair and that we got the right outcome is now thrown into doubt. So we're at the point now. No, the very bedrock of democracy is very shaky right now.
I agree.
Very shaky.
I
Like the
agree.
United States is where this is the great experiment. Like if it can't work here, like, and we're fucking we are getting weird
Yeah.
right now, and it's going to get weirder. I feel
Yeah,
like.
it is really strange.
I feel like you got to, as an individual, figure out your thing and do it.
which is where I'm living.
That's
Like,
where I'm
and
living.
that's something that I said to
I
somebody
gave
the other
up
day.
on changing the world at some point. I used
Changing
to.
your world.
Right.
That's all you can do.
Yeah, the politics thing got so toxic. I used to care about it. I used to follow it. I used
Sure.
to read the news feeds.
Yeah.
He said what?
Every now and then
he
I-
said she did.
Every now and then I
what?
trip, you know?
They did what?
Yep.
And both sides will feed you red meat stories of those all day.
Yeah, you're
long.
absolutely right. That's
the
how
business
the algorithm
that they're in.
That's exactly right. The
And
algorithm.
you got to just tune it out, man, because it won't lead to anything positive happening in your life. You'll just be pissed off all the time.
We talked about you and I are each cord cutters for going on a decade now, and like if
Yeah.
we could just have one thing, it would just be Cardinal. Like if I could just pay for one thing, it'd be Cardinal.
Pay so
fucking
much money
baseball.
for Cardinal baseball. Just
And
give me the Cardinal baseball.
and I know that I don't need like I went to my mom's house. I went down there for a funeral or something, so I stayed overnight, and she's just got regular TV or whatever, and it is. And even before that, I was at some of my in-laws' house for Thanksgiving, and they had a football game on, and I haven't watched any NFL since the Rams left, and like watching commercial breaks is fucking scary.
I haven't watched commercials in so long that when I watch them, they freak me out.
It is like
They've
I swear to
changed.
God, it feels like it's a dystopian movie. People laugh about like Idiocracy and all of these other things, but I'm like, no. There were 5 commercials, and 4 of them were for drugs that had a potential side effect of death, and the other one was like some kind of fucking reverse mortgage shit that they're gonna take advantage of my fucking grandparents with, or whatever. Whatever. I'm not a fucking financial advisor, but the point is like. I couldn't believe it. Like, it went directly from one drug to the next drug to all of this, and I'm like, it is amazing to me, considering what I spend a fair amount of my time talking about and evangelizing about, and like the anti-drug culture, and then to see them just fucking peddle every kind of chemical combination at people is the craziest, weirdest thing when I can talk about 50 drugs tonight that have no chance of killing you. None. And then as soon as you turn off the show and you flip on your TV, the first commercial break, they're going to show you 3 that have the potential of killing you if you fucking are just a little bit loose with your dosage.
right.
That's not all they're going to show you. They're going to show you a commercial of what alcohol to drink and what car to drive.
Yeah.
They're going to do that too. So
It's coming. man.
drink this. I think that was George Carlin. Drink this, drive that. Fuck you. He said something like that once.
Yeah.
What's up on the robots?
I'm kind of wondering what's up with my laptop. I got a crashy crash.
Okay,
over
well,
here. But
you told me a little something about sexist robots.
Well, without having the article in front
I
of
don't
me,
need it in front of you.
apparently there's some sexism towards AI, female AI.
so
like,
is-
just like Alexia, not like female sex bots or anything. There's probably sexism.
What do you
towards
mean? What do you mean, female AI? AI is
female
not.
AI. Oh, listen. Okay.
They
Will,
have,
I need you
they
to.
have AI.
I'm going to help
that-
you out here. It's not going to help, but I'm going to try to help. I need you to focus. We live in a country where there is no gender, but there is 2 genders because
Right.
you have to have 2 things.
So the AI declares like
Now
what
the AI,
it feels like.
although genderless, does have 2 genders,
I got it right here in front of me.
and they're upset that there's sexism towards one of the genders of the AI, which has no gender. But us, who do have 2 genders, are upset, but we we don't have gender.
It sounds like it
Are you
figured
cra-
out
are you
exactly
tracking?
what humans think.
Users.
It sounds like it
perceive-
nailed it. I think they got it.
Yeah, users perceived female AI as being warmer and more trustworthy. Researchers have discovered evidence that users are biased towards female AI, believing them to be more human than male AI. In a study published in Psychology and Marketing,
Isn't that a compliment?
researchers found that consumers tend to perceive female robots as having more positive human traits, such as warmth and emotion, than male robots, according to the Academic Times. The researchers behind the study tested characteristics such as warmth, experience, and competence in 5 separate studies with more than 3,000 participants, and at the end, they discovered evidence that people prefer female bots because they're perceived as more human than male bots. So, the study found users prefer female AI in products such as Amazon Alexa and Google Home, but the products might be inadvertently promoting the idea that women are simple tools designed to fulfill their owners' needs, said the study's authors to the
I'll never
Academic
forget
Times.
Bill Burr's killer line that he had to change the voice on his GPS to a male because he just didn't trust it. She was like, turn right on 3030. He's like, I don't think so, sweetheart.
That makes sense. After all, if you're used to using a variety of female AI for all your smart tech needs, you might end up used to the idea that women are subservient to you and your wants. Maybe, I'm just going to fucking, maybe it's possible. But also, I feel like maybe we're kind of looking for something there. It's like, yeah, I do expect my fucking robot that I paid for to fucking give me the thing that I asked for. It's the purpose. Until that robot can enter into a relationship with me willingly, and I'm not buying it with money, which is something that our kids are probably going to have to deal with in a whole separate situation. But yeah, as of right now, it's a tool in my house to make my life easier. I'm not going just because I can say, "Hey Alexa, play Spangle," okay. I'm not then gonna like go in the other room and start barking orders at my wife because I can talk to the fucking robot on the dresser. That's just me.
They've always used female voices for automation because it's like more calming and assuring to people.
Maybe
It's
people
like,
just
you can't
like
be
women.
like
Totally.
Alexa.
Even women like
I like women.
I love women.
Add milk to my shopping list. It's like,
All right, bro. I added milk.
you just don't
Right.
Dude,
trust
can
that.
you
as much.
imagine if it was like DMX, like barking orders back?
Turn left.
Turn right, dumbass.
fucking barking at you every time. you
DMX,
fucking say
man.
something. Dude, I heard that
Hanging,
DMX
clinging to life, as I
was about to say,
understand.
yeah, he had a little OD-sage. Little OD-sage. Fuck, I'll tell you what, he fucked around with some of those shit they're trying to sell my mom on the Game Show Network during a commercial break. Took a couple too many of those.
Yep. The good
They're
stuff.
gonna make it to where to talk to Alexa to activate it, you have to get on your knees and say please to it. That's how it activates.
If people find
With a
Dennison's
leash
dick
on.
pics, he's going to be internet famous, yo. The Justin Timberlake movie you're thinking of, where time is money, is called In Time. Ask me how I know that. It's because my brain is ridiculous.
I like Justin Timberlake.
He's
I think he's
wildly
fantastic.
talented man. He's
like him.
insanely talented.
I think he's funny.
I think that there was a piece of me, nostalgic me, who existed in 1997 to 2001 that just had a real hard time accepting that, the front man from NSYNC could be so good at everything. But
Yeah, right.
it was like his first SNL,
realize that dude's amazing.
and I was like, oh man, like you're
you
just
realize, like,
really
if he
good.
wasn't an incredible vocalist and an incredible dancer, he's funny enough to be on
He's
Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
And he's also a good enough actor to be in feature films.
Dude, he's
And he writes
it's
a
just
lot for Saturday
so
Night
much
Live.
talent in one human.
he is
They-
unbelievable.
It happens every once in a while. And you're just like,
Johnny Carson.
different level.
Johnny Carson was kind of
Different
the same
level.
type dude. Everyone
Yeah.
knows him as
Really?
like the late night guy, but Johnny Carson was like, he was a singer. Like, matter of fact, there's a
That's
really
some-
cool
that's
video
some
of him
weird,
with like
wild
the
stuff.
with the Rat Pack and stuff. Like, that dude was just like, yeah, he was. Jimmy Fallon, as much as I hate to say it, is also kind of in that same vein. He's just kind of like a diet Timberlake.
He's a hard-working dude in broadcasting. In
Fallon,
television.
I
Yeah,
dude,
he
I
is.
don't hate on him. I don't hate on him at all.
Yeah.
Like
I
his
think
his
he
brand
sucked
of
on
humor.
SNL because he can't do live shit.
His
like
brand of
that.
humor is not quite my speed, but like he's done some really brilliant stuff with Timberlake. As a matter of fact, like he and Timberlake were great together. But
That's true.
They did. no,
Same deal as
they didn't
Ellen,
do
though.
Dick in the
He's
Box
in that
together.
box, man.
Yeah.
He's got to play that super clean,
Totally.
super safe role.
yeah, what are you gonna do?
I bet his phone
you are
is
Johnny
clean
Carson.
as can be.
Gotta be.
You got to be disciplined.
Somebody on the
man.
text line said Tulsi was hot as fuck too. She
Tulsi was
she can
she's
get
a
it.
banger. Tulsi is a banger. Yeah, she's hot.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon pee bottles. You got anything on that? You want me to look that up?
Do you want to go ahead and?
It's just our last around the world thing.
It's our last one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just got my computer back up.
Okay.
If you
Well, here
wanna-
I think if I just search it, I'll bet it comes up.
Basically, Amazon. Some people were worried about the
This
working
is the
conditions
dumbest
because
shit.
employees were pissing in bottles, but like drivers pissing. in bottles.
So Amazon came out.
Yeah.
Well, yes. So people were like, we got people pissing in bottles. You guys are making $100 trillion, and the employees are pissing in bottles.
It's
and
not
Amazon,
that outrageous to me.
I have filled
And Amazon's
so many
like,
bottles with piss.
no, our workers have facilities. They pee. Well, now they're having to issue an apology because sometimes the drivers have to pee in bottles.
I mean, come
We've
on.
all done. I've done it in traffic in St. Louis in rush hour more.
I get
than
the
twice.
angle. The angle is, oh my God, Amazon, it's horrible conditions, and
Yeah.
I don't work for Amazon.
Sure,
I'm glad
yeah,
I
fuck
don't.
Amazon, sure.
They don't
But like, if you drive a truck, you're peeing in a bottle at some point.
At some point,
You know,
I'll tell you this.
drive along the highway and you find the bottles of piss all along the highway. They call them trucker bombs. Like, if you're behind the wheel with enough pressure to get somewhere enough time, it's just a matter of time if you're peeing in the
trying to
bottle.
keep time. This
I caught my
time's money.
mailman peeing in the woods in my neighborhood. He
Yeah,
pulled his
fuck,
truck
you
down the edge
gotta
of
go,
the
you
woods.
gotta go.
So I guess if you're USPS, you pee in the woods.
I
But
filled up
Amazon,
piss bottles in my. I'll keep a bottle
gotta
of water
bottle
next
it.
to my bed, and I'll wake up in the middle of the night. And I haven't done it in a long time, but I used to piss in that fucking bottle. And I'd
What?
wake
You
up in-
wouldn't
I'd
walk
wake
to the
up in
fucking
morning-
bathroom.
Jesus. Hang on a second.
What?
You can't just
Seth.
drop this on me, Seth. You're just pissing in bottles in the middle of the night.
Because
Why
the
not?
bathroom's
I'm
20
not,
steps
I'm
away.
not judging you. I'm not judging you.
Probably exactly 20 steps.
Because
I'm judging him.
That's fine.
you know,
I thought we were all on board. That
one
this was
time-
a
You
normal
keep a
thing,
plastic
and then
bag
I
to shit
mentioned
in?
doing it because I'm in my bedroom by myself, and you're like, okay, bro, you just overstepped the.
so I've got probably a longer story than it's worth telling, but it does tie into the piss in the bottle thing.
Go for
One time I was 15 years old, and every year at Memorial Day, my parish would have their parish picnic. So
I'm
it was
almost
like-
done with this, Seth.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, just in case.
That's a big one. I
Just
can.
in case you
throw
got
it your
a
way.
fit.
That's two. That's two trips right there, at least
So,
three.
at this point, I'd already moved to Springfield, and I was still resentful of my parents for taking away from everything that I loved in St. Louis and all of my friends. And so there were these moments throughout the year where I would get to come back and visit with my friends, and we were still kind of moving some stuff back and forth out of storage down there. And so I came back up for our school picnic, which was like the fucking best day of the year, man. It was awesome. And me and my buddy, we secured a couple of 30s of like Miller High Life. I'm 15 years old. And my dad was visiting with his parents, and they're just catching up. It's like old times. And like, he's like, hey, we're leaving for Springfield in an hour. And I'm like, what? No. You know, he's like, 1 hour, we're out of here. And I had a foreign exchange brother, Felipe, from Brazil, lived with us for a year. Did I fucking try to learn Portuguese from him or anything that could have? No. What's he doing now? He's a world-class lawyer. He lives on a 10,000-acre farm. Here I am doing this fucking show. Maybe I should have spent a little bit more time on foreign exchange, brother. That's neither here nor there. I'm in a little South City basement, and when my dad tells me it's an hour, I decide that like I'm gonna fucking prove something to all my friends about how much beer I can drink in an hour, you know. And dude, I start going ham on Miller High Life, and I drank a 30-pack of fucking Miller High Life
Champagne and beers, bro.
in an hour. Okay.
No.
I did. I had a pile, and I'm fucking feeling good, bud. Like, I am bouncing around. I'm pretty sure I'm probably pretty similar to, like, if you've ever seen Beer Fest, the friend that's, like, handing out BJs and ZJs and everything. When he's all fucking, he's like, hey, you know, he's fucking walking, he's really just fucking slurring and stumbling and shit. That was probably me. So about an hour in, actually, I think my dad gave me a little grace period, so it was like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. He's like, all right, load up, we got to go. I got finals the next day. And I am, at this point now, the 30 have sunk in. I was good for about 5 minutes. Now
Well, you got to take
I'm-
about 15 pisses at this point.
I'm in bad shape. And I actually, it's the first time I remember, like, kind of blacking out. And I fall asleep in the, you know,
How old are you at
passenger
this
seat.
point?
15. My dad is not impressed. You know, he is just not fucking impressed at all. And so I'm sitting in my I'm sitting in the passenger seat, and like we're cruising down the highway. I'm sick as fuck, and like I start kind of like dry heaving, and he's like, "Don't even fucking." I mean, this is the power of a dad, you know. Like, don't even fucking think about puking. And like in that second, like I was done. Like I'm not gonna fucking dry
Pull it back
heave.
in.
He just totally dadded the fucking puke right back down into me. Well, then I was like, hey, can you pull over? I got to pee. He's like, fuck you. He's like, you can piss in that coffee cup right there. So it was like a little travel mug. And I think it was actually my first experience ever. You know, it'd never been so emergent that I couldn't, you know, fucking pull over the side of the road or anything like that. And I relieved myself in the cup, and then I just put it back in the cup holder, and I went back to sleep. And I remember, next thing I remember was waking up to like birds chirping the following morning. I got finals. And my dad's like, oh, how you feeling good? And I'm like, I'm feeling pretty good. He's like, I'll bet you fucking are. He's like, get the cup of piss out of my car. I left the fucking piss cup in my dad's van, man. And I felt really bad about that. But, you know, I mean, I didn't have my wits about me. Anyway, that's my pissing in a bottle story. It appears that that's a military thing. Is that what you're talking about?
I've pissed in some bottles.
It was very popular in the military. We pissed a lot, like in
pissed in some
Humvees.
bottles.
Fuck, you have to.
I
If
got
you're in a
Seth's-
Humvee, and you
well,
can-
that's what Dennison said. I got Seth's back on this one. It's a military thing. So you're pissing in bottles too, Dennison? Okay. Listen, you guys aren't in the military
Dude,
anymore.
there were signs at our chews, which means something housing unit. I forgot what a chew is. It's a very small room with two guys living in it, and there'd be like a whole, you know, section of these things. And that's where we lived. Or even in some of the tents we lived in like the shittier fobs, there'd be signs that say, no piss bottles.
Right.
People still break that rule. No piss
They would
bottles.
have to put signs up for you miscreants?
You'd walk by a trash can and be full of piss bottle. In your
Right.
Humvee, if you
Roasting
come
in
back-
the sun, dude.
come back from
119
a
degrees.
patrol, if you're out for 6+ hours and you're in there, especially a gunner like me, I had my gunner's freaking harness strapped into that turret. Turret. Yo, fuck yeah. I'd chug my water and be like, all right, take me a piss.
Huh.
And fuck,
Well,
I'm not even going to tell you something.
Thanks for your service, guys. I really appreciate
Get-
it.
What the
rid
fuck
of
are you
your-
going to do? Get out of the vehicle and dismount and pull? Hey, can you pull security, bro? I got to take a piss. Fucking everything up. I'd be pissed on the road and then we just chuck it. Get in trouble for that too.
So anyway, Amazon's really sorry for saying that
Thanks for having my back.
none of their employees could possibly piss in a bottle, only to find out that all of their truckers are pissing in a bottle. So that's what cracks for news.
Truckers, they're stupid.
Dennison
ass
says
weird fan
everyone
things.
pissed in bottles. You've never tried to live in a place that's 140 degrees and the bathroom is 400 yards away. Well, that's
Yeah,
fair.
right.
That's
I
fair.
kept a couple bottles by my bunk. I would get one.
And
Okay.
it wasn't until I got home from the military when I did that. When I'd wake up in the middle of the night, like, oh, there's a bottle right here. You know, if I
Usually
had
a
never
nice-
joined or before, pre-military, I wouldn't wake up. And
I
be
get
like,
that.
It's usually a nice big bottle too, because every time I've ever pissed in a bottle, 90%
yeah,
of
you
the times I
want something
pissed
that's
in
got a nice wide mouth.
No, that's the scariest thing when you
Wide
feel
mouth
that
is-
thing. You feel that you can hear it filling up. like,
wide
as
mouth
your
is a
piss
luxury
stream
feature. What I'm
gets
talking about
less
is
dense.
volume of bottle.
Okay.
There's every
Yeah,
90% of
pissing
times.
20 ounces shouldn't be a problem.
Dude,
at
you
all.
got a 16 ouncer or a 20 ouncer,
fucked.
and you're holding it for a while. It always comes down to the last. Like you get up in the neck, and I'm like, I'm almost done, and you think there's gonna be a moment. Like, what are you gonna do? Hold the last
What are you
half a
gonna
shot
do?
glass? You can't hold that.
Well, what are you gonna do?
You can't stop
You
the
just dump
stream
them
at
all out?
96%. You got a little
Buffering?
overflow.
You got no
Dude,
buffering?
I don't know how many times I've been cruising down. I'm in a car, you know what I mean, and I'm pissing in a bottle. I'm already lining up the tip with the small opening.
Sure.
You can. If you got a big Gatorade bottle, you can insert.
No
Otherwise,
doubt.
you're lining up
those
the
are
streams.
great. Those are perfect.
Dude, you got pressure going on. You got pressure coming out because you're peeing in a bottle. You obviously have to go bad.
Totally.
It's a high stakes situation.
Oh.
You got to
You
get that
are
cap
doing it.
on
it's
that
because
bottle.
you have to.
Oh, I got
Many
the cap on
times.
the bottle. There's no
Now
piss
all
on my
the
hands.
all the
I'm
veterans are
relieved.
chiming in here.
Oh,
We had
dude.
guys shitting MRE boxes on mission.
We got the piss bottle club. Oh, I'll tell you a
all right,
story.
if
Did
they're
I ever
gonna
tell you
tell
about
that-
this? Did I ever tell you about the toilet we made
No.
to shit
No,
in?
you missed me
So
on that
we
one.
went to a place called a little town called Ludafia. We were going to stay there in this abandoned building on an Iraqi patrol base they had set up in south of Baghdad, about 40 minutes south, maybe in a little town called Ludafia. And there's no toilets. There's holes you can shit in, and we're in an abandoned building. It's got human shit on the floor and animal shit. So one of our snipers takes the frame of a metal chair, and it had no padding on it, and zip tied a toilet seat to it and put it over one of the holes. And then you'd put
Perfect.
what's called a doggy bag in it.
Oh, you put a bag in it, shit in a bag.
You could use that.
Yeah.
You can use a
Not
bag.
bad.
Or you can. Yeah,
I've-
it was
I've
great.
shit
But
in
the
a bag.
Iraqi soldiers lost their minds laughing. It was the funniest shit that they had ever seen. It'd be the equivalent of us going over there or them coming over here, and they're like, "Well, here's as good a place as any," and just pull down their pants and just take a shit in a hole.
I-
Maybe kick some grass over it. Like
Yeah, I too
And I'll
would.
tell you, it is funny. Like we'd be on OPs at night, and people shit on the sidewalk, and you can see through your thermals like the turd glowing. And that was kind of funny too. Sometimes it just writes itself.
Do we want to get? It's already 8:30. Man, that has been so fast. Do we want to go to a little break? Do we want to get in the psychedelic news is very quick. Why don't we go do a little break real quick and
We got
do you
a
wanna
little.
do?
We got a little clip of our friend Will we can play.
let's do that. We're
So we're
going
gonna do that. It's about a minute and a half. So
Nice.
Take a small little break. We'll be back here in about. Oh, it's about a minute and a half. Is that the deal? Okay.
here's Will on stage.
Okay.
Doing his thing. Hottest dad in comedy right here.
Guys, I'm sick and tired of being asked to donate to charity at the cash register. Everywhere I go, right? They're like, would you like to donate $1 to children with diabetes? I'm like, would you like to donate $1 to children with a broke father? Don't ask me that shit in front of all these people. That's not fair. It's like, listen, I understand you're collecting money for a good cause, but I need every dollar I have for me and mine. I need every dime. Now give me a pack of cigarettes, all right? Couple scratch offs too. Let me get. Oh shit, you got Natty Daddies on sale? Let me get 4 Natty Daddies, 2 Mega Millions, and a pack of Winston Lights. But I'm being careful, I guess. You know, like I wear a mask if you ask me to. I wash my hands. I'll give you a fist bump. But like, let's be real. If I walk out tonight and one of you guys has a joint, I'll put my mouth on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta make choices in life. You know what I mean? I mean, I might wipe it on my shirt, but that's about it, right? I'll just be pulling on that sumbitch like, ah, fuck, he just coughed. Fuck. Hey, you know what? That's probably just a weed. Let me get that again. Let me get that one more time.
All right.
Hi guys.
We are back. Yeah, sorry about the delay.
I
Craig knocked some
knocked
things
over our studio setup. Sorry guys. I knew it was gonna happen.
We're
That's
working
our
with the
buddy
latest
Will.
technology. I got an empty coffee thermos holding up a piece of cardboard to block a light.
Not bad. It's working
Ingenuitive.
well. It's working well. It's blocking light on all of us, so it looks good. Will, do you got any upcoming anything? You touring stuff? You just got back from a little tour, didn't you?
I just got back from hitting a bunch of loony bins, but I've kind of got a little break in my schedule. Nothing club gates booked, but
right on. How was
Check in with
how was
me.
hitting the road? Was that your first time?
yeah, that was really the first time that I went boom, 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 multiple. I booked up the whole month of March basically. I missed. Okay, so I was booked for Wichita, Tulsa, and Little Rock,
Right.
and all in March. I did the first 2, and then I got COVID, and I missed Little Rock.
That sucks.
That sucks. I'll go back to Little Rock. They're not going to hold it against me because I got COVID.
No,
But,
hopefully not.
it
They
was
probably
real
didn't even
cool.
care that you had it then.
Nah, I could have just gone, huh?
You could have.
I should have.
You probably should have. It's not that big of a deal. Actually, on that, how was it? Like, was it
Really
awful?
fun.
I mean, like,
Oh, COVID.
Well,
Yeah,
both
really
of
fun. COVID was fine. I was sick for 4 or 5 days, but it never got it. I did. My
didn't have to
symptoms
go to
were-
the hospital. Didn't have to do any of that jazz. You're a strong guy.
It was a nasty head cold with no taste and smell.
How
for
were
4 or 5
That's
days.
exactly what mine was.
Yeah, just 4 or 5 days.
I had a
and-
very mild cold.
How were you received in our neighboring states?
had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first time in Tulsa. So I did the Oklahoma City Looney Bin back in December, and I had a good time down there. Had a lot of fun. I didn't really get out and see much of Tulsa, but it was a great road trip. I got to work with some good comics.
Yeah.
And just be doing what I'm trying to do, which is be on the road doing comedy. It felt really fun.
There is a level of, I went through a real kind of lull of what is it that, like, I'm really like, what am I passionate about? Because those things change, like, especially, when you're younger and, like, well, going back to, like, school, like, I was convinced I was gonna at the very least play sports up through college to then figure out what it was that I was going to do with my life. Because that's how it happens. You know, you hit a certain age and then it all just starts to make sense. And it was amazing kind of what this show, you know, Steve asking me to come on and talk about an ayahuasca experience that I had that ultimately was kind of, you know, something that I did to maybe answer some existential questions.
How many years ago was this? What, I just ballpark origin.
It was, I'll tell you,
Hoosier Sophisticate.
Well, Hoosier Sophisticate will be 3 years old.
That's
on
it?
May
3?
4th.
I was thinking
Oh,
like
God,
5
it
or
feels like it's
6.
been-
Now
goddamn
Steve
decade.
had the changing station.
When I came down and was on your show, wasn't that more than 3 years ago?
it was at 3
the
years
beginning.
ago.
That was
So
the
y-
beginning.
So
you guys were we were on the radio, right?
This is actually going to be our. So it's weird. It's going to be like our 4th go around, but by the
can't believe
Facebook
it's only been 3 or
memories.
4
yeah, I
years.
know it's nuts. And
I was gonna brag and be like, "Well, I've only been doing comedy for 5 years," because I thought you were gonna say 6 or 7.
No, well, that's the thing. So Steve started that show on 590, and it was, you know, Steve kind of got his fame writing into the morning show on 590, and there's a whole culture that follows it. It's like a local Stern show, you know, and they have a very TMA the morning after on 590. They're still rocking. It's like, and they are incredibly talented. Like Doug Vaughn, who most people know in St. Louis as the weatherman on Channel 4, is
Weather.
I'm sorry, sports guy on Channel 4. He's always making
Yeah, it
fun
would
of the
be
weather.
great
He
to
would
see
be,
him do the
he would be
weather.
pissed about but like he is legitimately. I don't know that I've ever heard anybody like as quick witted and off the cuff as Doug is. He's just
Great.
consistently funny.
And he's great. Like I really miss like when I worked at GNU back when they were CBS Sports. The
Yeah.
morning, me, Jimmy the Cat, Jimmy and me would always be drinking Monsters at 6 a.m. That's our breakfast. Doug
waking
Vaughn would
up.
be there, and some of the best radio happens. We always say this. Some of the best radio happens when the mics are off, and we just sit there and
No
bullshit
doubt.
in the morning before they did their show.
Incredibly talented bunch, and it's also if you've ever listened to like, you know, the Jim Rome show or anything like that, like so much of it is made up by the fans who are consistently emailing in, texting in. New jokes come from that. You know, it's a very interactive experience, and that's where Steve found his lane. Steve was writing these hilarious emails and texts and became kind of a celebrity fan attached to the show. And so from that he started the Changing Station, which was like a awesome time. It was a Friday night at 11 o'clock, and you're like, well, who's listening to talk radio at Friday night at 11 o'clock? You know, well, my dad always listened to like George Norrie Coast to Coast, and like it was always like the weirdest, coolest shit, you know. And George Norrie's actually a local guy. He's a St. Louis guy, but like it was. He asked me to come on and talk about this, and I'm like, yeah, you want to talk about it on the radio? I'm not sure what we can say, but okay. And so, you know, I went on there and got way too stoned for my first like radio appearance, and was totally useless. And then he asked me to come back and try it again
the other
because
day.
we hit it off great. Like Steve and I had so many.
How many years ago was this when you and Steve did
that
this
was
together?
like it was like
Yeah,
15.
This
Five
show
or
will be
6 years
3
ago.
years in May, but you guys have been like a duo, like a Cheech and Chong
Yeah,
kind
like
of
6
thing.
years.
6 years.
Doing other things.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
Definitely.
Because it started with his show there, and then after that there was a little lull where he wasn't on 590, and he and I were doing a show from a float center where we would talk to people before we would do a sensory depth float, and then after.
Oh, cool.
And it would just kind of be this, you know, this thing, and then we kind of moved to the basement, and we were, you know, continuing that, and then Seth reached out to us both and he's like, hey, you guys want to come do this on here? I want to produce a show. We'll do it on 920.
Yeah,
and
like I remember I'd been talking to Steve, and I think I'd mentioned a few things to you. I just met you through Steve at a live Changing Station remote.
Yeah.
And you guys were in robes, and you had an intern that was drunk and passed out.
Oh,
on
he
the air.
was so
super
drunk.
huge FCC violation, I think. Yeah, we kicked around a little idea of doing just like a simple podcast in like one of the empty studios at GNU that nobody ever used. It is a recording studio.
Yeah.
And I was like, why not just Dan Buffa, who sucks, is no,
I'm a
Dan's
Dan
have you
Buffa
seen the
fan.
show, the shirt? Dan
Yeah,
Buffa
Dan
sucks.
Buffa sucks,
I want to
yes.
get one of those. Actually,
I'm a Dan Buffa fan.
First of all, I'll tell you, Dan Buffa doesn't suck. He's one of the hardest working people I've ever met in this fucking
That's a
game.
dude who is doing what I would consider like he found something that he was passionate about. You know, the entertainment industry. Dude has written reviews on movies when it wasn't getting it, and then all of a sudden it started turning into.
He's on television.
I think he's got a fucking Oscar vote.
He's on
television. I think he's
son.
gotten to that point. So, but the point I was trying to make was like I didn't know what I was missing, but I was missing something like the 9 to 5.
It's just confusing because like I was gonna say, Dan Buffa told me he's like, I'm going off the air. It's been great working with you. It's like awesome, and this 6 to 8 p.m. Friday night time slot opened, and it just hit me. I was like. I asked him, I go, so where are the rates going for that time slot? And he told me, it's like $80 a week. I'm like, shit. I contacted you and Steve. I'm like, we can afford this. Let's just go live.
Sure.
And we just did it.
And it really like so even like so
here we are.
To speak of the show in that regard, like I was missing something that like really kind of filled my cup, and I still wasn't sure if it was like telling jokes on the radio or what that was, but on Steve's show, he was having these guests. It started out with like Jeff Mazansky, and we talked about this a little bit last week, maybe the week before. Jeff Mazansky was a guy who got arrested with like an eighth in his pocket, but it was a third strike. He got life. He got like tweeted like 25 years.
Shit.
Fuck. Dude, so we had him in studio, and like there was and I knew Jeff Mazansky's name. It was a famous enough case that like when I was in Springfield, so like all throughout Missouri, this guy was kind of known by the counterculture as this dude that was doing life for a fucking eighth of weed or whatever, you know. And so we talked to him, and then we talked to at the same time as our buddy Blake Bell, who owns Bell Chiropractic, and you know, wellness center, pain management clinic, and Blake was putting together this whole thing with veterans and how they were using cannabis to kind of get off of the cocktail of fucking pills that they were feeding these guys from the VA coming back from war. And it really opened my eyes to like this other side of cannabis, because up until that point, cannabis was just something I did that was nowhere near as bad as any of the parents made it out to be. It made me feel great. Like, didn't leave me hungover. I didn't make super irresponsible decisions with Cannabis was a lot of different things for me, but one thing that it wasn't, and I knew that it had medicinal properties, but I didn't know to what extent, you know, that existed. So it started with these veterans, and then after that, he had a couple of parents that were treating their kids with different CBD strains and things like that, kids with seizures and things like that. Well, that kind of opened up just a conversation that not many people were having, especially on terrestrial radio. So we kind of followed that, you know, down the line, and I didn't realize at the time. Well, I did realize, like the second that I had my ayahuasca experience, and it did really solve a lot of anxieties and things that I had with my own mortality and with my dad dying and everything. Like I did become a bit evangelical about psychedelics. I'm like, holy shit! Like I was not taught that these things had these kind of healing properties. And so it all of a sudden, like it made space for a conversation to be had that was worth having and was important to have. And also I was seeing it from podcasters and people that I was listening to pop up more and more as like a topic of discussion. Absolutely. So I knew that I was talking about something that was worth talking about because people that had millions of followers were starting to have that conversation. And I didn't realize how much that was missing from my life. Because I am generally content with my lot.
Pretty content up until then.
Yeah. Like I have a home. Yeah. I have a, you know, at the time, beautiful girlfriend. We've got kids we're raising together. I'm pretty happy with what it was. But like even she could see it in me. Like I didn't have that thing that was setting me on fire. Yeah. You know, and I didn't know that this was going to become that. And it evolved so much further past this show, to where, you know, the community that was built around it all of a sudden was more than just a fan page. It was more than, you know, a Facebook group. Like it was a place where people were genuinely like invested in other people's happiness. Like it became like this kind of weird communal. It became
a community.
You know, communal understanding. Sort of. And that is what ultimately gave me a little bit more purpose. Like I don't.
That's awesome. Yeah.
You know, and I think we got there because we're talking about kind of what comedy was doing for you, or what it has done for you.
I was gonna say it sounds like the mirror image of what I found in comedy.
Yeah.
I just went on stage and I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, this is where I want to put my energy, and it's just taken over my life.
Your first experience, like doing stand up, like, was it pretty positive?
Yeah.
Did it hit?
Yeah.
Did it give you unrealistic expectations, like for how the crowd was going?
No, because it was an awful open mic, and I did okay.
Okay.
Like, I went up in front of all comics, which is the hardest audience. Most of them not paying attention. Some of them looking at their phones.
Sure.
And like the garage of helium, and I went up and I did this stuff that I'd just written, and like I got some chuckles. And I was like, okay, that felt okay.
It's hitting with the funny guys.
And then I did a second show, which was like this nightmare show, but I did well again, and I was hooked. Like I
That's
was
awesome.
like once I stood on stage and told jokes and felt how good it feels, I was like, I knew I was hooked.
That's awesome. Yeah, that for me, like that's. People ask, like,
I'm going to say one more thing real quick.
Yeah.
It wasn't just that, though. Like, I remember being at a shitty bar on a Monday night, and, like, just the worst bar, and I'm waiting my turn to go up and do 4 minutes of time, and I'm 17th on the list, and all the bad things that people complain about how bad open mics are, and I was like, I fucking love this.
Yeah.
Like, the excitement I felt driving out here, thinking about doing my jokes tonight, like, I just knew that it set me on fire, is what you said.
That's the deal. Like,
and I was missing that so hard, and I was getting bitter about life. I was 35, and I was like, I guess life's gonna pass me by, and I'm just gonna have shitty jobs, I'm just gonna make money and buy stuff, and then I was like,
and it doesn't have to be that.
You're right.
Like, and that's
It turns out if you put a lot of your energy and attention and passion into that, it turns into something cool.
Yeah.
It grows, and the people who dig it find you, and the next thing you know, you've got something going. You're like, I didn't even mean to get something going. I'm just enjoying myself.
Yeah.
And you find
That's interesting because
swimming downstream.
When you get
I felt like I've been fighting upstream all my life, and now I'm swimming downstream, and I'm like, I can fly.
I was built for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck those salmon. I'm going this way.
Right.
Yeah. That's also like.
I'm not a salmon. I'm a bass. Or
yeah, man. Whatever. I'm going with the flow.
Call me Billy Bass. Willie Billy Bass.
Willie Billy Bass. That's interesting because, like, you talked about, like, your people will find you, and that's. Not only that,
that's what you guys have done.
When you're kind of speaking from a place that you're genuinely like when you get the funny guy to laugh, like you're validated, right? I had a moment a couple of years ago. We went to, on a whim, it was a free fucking deal at the University of Michigan, and it was a psychedelic symposium. And it was a full day of events, and like all of the world's leading psychedelic scientists, people doing DMT studies, LSD studies, ketamine studies, nitrous oxide studies, every fucking, forward-thinking mind in the field of psychedelic science was there. And I was like geeking like a kid waiting to get an autograph at a baseball game,
Yeah.
and like, and sports had lost that luster for me. And that something about that kind of died with my dad. I'm not sure what that is, but like my connection, my knowing of everybody's batting average and who's in the farm. Like I knew all of that
it's
shit.
fun,
and
but
like,
it takes up time.
So
and
part
space.
of that was getting rid of cable. Like once I was
Yeah.
kind of unplugged from the ESPN around the clock, like that kind of being in the know kind of went by the wayside, and I was able to kind of offset that a little bit with like checking on MLB.com or checking stats or what. Like I was able to kind of do it, but it still wasn't quite the same. And I just stopped caring so much about things that didn't directly involve me. Like being a fan of something wasn't enough of an identity for me, in that moment. Like it's certainly fun to be a part of that group and share in a passion. Like I'll talk Cardinal baseball with anybody all day long.
Yeah.
I'm not as astute as I was before, but I still hold my own.
Sure.
But like I wasn't making anything. I was only just kind of belonging to what somebody else.
That's a good way of putting it. You weren't making anything. You were just consuming it.
I was just consuming it, and that's weird, right? Like becoming like, and I try to talk to my sons about this all the time. It's like you can enjoy the YouTubers that you like, and you can do all of these things, but just understand that if you're doing that all the time, you're only living kind of through their experience and none of your own.
Yeah.
And that was like something that, as I was telling them, I was also kind of hearing, right? Like, you're also kind of doing that. You're just doing it on a different level. Just because it's not YouTube, it looks like social media for a lot of people, or it looks like whatever. So, like, it was weird. Like, so you making the funny guy laugh is validating in the same way that I was at this thing, and all of a sudden, like, these were now like my rock stars, like the people that, like, hey, Craig, if you could have a conversation with anybody, who would it be? Well, a lot of those people were in this room, and then it turns out that I got the opportunity to have a conversation with them afterwards at a bar afterwards, like kind of in my element, tequila bar.
Cool.
I'm a little lubed up, fucking hanging out.
You're not doing an official interview. You're just hanging at the bar
I'm
afterwards.
hanging out,
you get to
and now
chat.
everybody
That's
is just
awesome.
kind of telling their stories, you know. And these scientists and these professors were just as interested in like my subjective experience as I was theirs, because it's not a recordable. Like, it's not science the way that most scientists do, and these guys understand that, right? And I'm listening to, I'm reading. I'm not
Your
listening.
individual experience is very interesting.
It's what they're building experiences off of. It's what they're building experiments off of. Is like enough people's anecdotal kind of experience, and then they build kind of a thing around it. And so, like, I realized that, oh shit, there is nothing that's separating me from these people that I was already starting to put on a pedestal, because they seemed like they were out of reach, when really they weren't. All I had to do was put myself in the position to be their colleague, right? And that was super validating for me. And then also, like, these crazy experiences that I was having in psychedelia were then also like very specific things were being talked about on Aubrey Marcus's podcast, Duncan Trussell's podcast, Joe Rogan's podcast. They were talking about specific things that I had experienced in that place that I wasn't really quite able to bring back and put into words, that then validated my experience. So like, just a quick, for instance, like, after my first ayahuasca, it was February of 2014. My dad was months away from dying, and I had this crazy experience where, and I was like, I was good, got good over there. I was confronted, or I was accompanied by this jaguar totem, which is like, a part of the lore around, plant around ayahuasca specifically. Each cardinal direction kind of has an animal totem that is attached to it, and they like these particular curanderos and curanderas that I was working with didn't really speak much about the jaguar. They talked about what hummingbird energy feels like, and what serpent energy feels like, and what the great condor feels like, but they never really said anything about the jaguar. And like, I had that thing, and I'm always very aware of maybe like what other people are saying, potentially imprinting on my experience. Except in this particular case, I had really no knowledge of this jaguar. And so this jaguar was with me, and like the whole time, it put me through like a couple of different painful things that would be hard to kind of explain. But then like, once I kind of accepted it, it would kind of laugh. And so what I came out of it was like, we called it the jovial jaguar. Or I called it the jovial jaguar, so much so that it became my Instagram handle. And then a couple years later, I'm driving home from our show, and I'm listening to Aubrey Marcus's podcast, and he starts talking about this new clothing line that he's going to drop called the Laughing Jaguar clothing line. And then he starts to explain what his, curandero, his ayahuasquero, taught him about the jaguar and about kind of what it represents. And like, so then I'm telling, so now like this super magical, spiritual, religious experience that I've had has now been kind of validated by somebody else who talks about these things often, who's never talked about this particular thing before, and he's given like some jungle history. So now another thing that like I've always had to kind of apologize for sounding crazy to people who haven't been there for was now like this real thing. And when I shared that with somebody else, he was like, what's cool about that? He's like, you didn't see like a laughing jaguar. He's like, you guys are probably talking about like the laughing jaguar. Whoa. And I was like, oh fuck, like,
right.
The point is like, because I started getting passionate about this particular thing and seeing what avenues I could go and talking to people about it, I wasn't like, my experience was just as valid as the guy who owns On It, who has this massive following, social media following, a lot of it because of his plant medicine, experiences. And so I realized that, like, whatever barrier I thought it was that kept me from being them, it wasn't an intellectual barrier. It wasn't even really a talent barrier. It's just figuring out.
It's simply that you weren't doing it.
Yeah,
You
just
just
that
needed
you
to
weren't
do
doing
it.
and not doing it enough to, and getting it in front of like the right. All it takes with anything like this is like for the right to go viral. Going viral is hitting the lottery, but it's like getting the right person to share that one thing.
Yeah.
And the only way that you're going to have a good chance at that is by just continuing to make.
Well,
the
and
fucking
when
thing.
when that happens, having something that's worth following.
Yes.
So you could go viral because you made an internet video, and then they all follow you, and like you don't
Never
make
make
any
another internet
content
video
because you're
again.
just funny that one time.
Right.
You have to make 1,000 episodes of Sophisticated Hoosiers or
Yeah,
whatever, and
yeah.
then when something finally takes off, people come in and they're like, "Whoa, this is a whole
There's a
thing."
whole cachet of stuff.
And
here.
Craig has been talking a lot for a long time. He's pretty good at it.
That's the hope, anyway.
That's the hope.
But also in that same story, and it also kind of ties into what you're saying, was when we went to the bar after like this psychedelic documentary, we were invited there by Shane Moss. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Shane. He's a
I've seen him do
comedian.
comedy.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's great, especially when it comes to psychedelics. His podcast.
I've listened to him a
awesome.
little bit.
I'm a big fan of his podcast. And so he was the one that invited us down. We didn't, other than him calling into our show on 920 a couple times, didn't know him. We did go see him at Helium a couple years ago.
That's where I saw him,
Saw him like backstage afterwards for a second, took a quick picture, gave him a T-shirt. Thanks for calling to the show, like whatever.
Right.
But that was it. And then like I knew kind of after we were already going to the symposium, I saw that he had a date in Ann Arbor that night, but I couldn't click the ticket link to buy. It was the only link on his page that I couldn't buy tickets for. And so anyway, it kind of came out to be this whole thing. Well, he invites us to the bar, and when we get there, there's like hardly anybody there. And Steve comes in, or Steve was sitting there, and he's made a joke like Steve does, and Shane just starts laughing his ass off. And like I saw the fucking light in Steve's eyes, like very much in the same, like I hadn't even, my moment in the sun hadn't come yet. But I knew as soon as I heard Shane audibly laugh, like
Genuinely
I
crack up.
couldn't look at Steve fast enough to see how he was going to react to that.
Right.
Because Steve wants to make the funny man laugh. Like that's the fuck. If you're a guy that tells jokes, like you want to make the other guys
Yeah.
that tell jokes laugh. You want to
Yeah.
be validated by your peers. And
Yeah.
you want to be validated by people who are exceptional at in that craft.
Sure.
So it was like both of us had this really validating, awesome experience.
That's awesome.
Which got really weird because because it was me and Shane Moss in the same room, but more than anything, it got strange because I'd never at that point like sat down. This isn't the same thing as like going and meeting like Albert Pujols for dinner. Like, yeah, I would know like when I was fanboying over Albert Pujols. But when you listen to hundreds of hours of somebody's podcast, you kind of get to know them intimately.
Isn't that
I
weird?
know Shane,
But he doesn't
way
know you.
better than he knows me.
Yeah.
Way better. And not like in the sense that, oh, hey, I used to watch your fucking sitcom with that script or whatever. Like, no, like this is, I listen to
Right.
your intimate
You've heard him
stories.
get deep.
And
bunch.
so like that was like this weird thing to contend with.
That's
you
a
know?
weird thing. That's a new thing.
It's a totally new thing. Like, oh shit! Like with this new media that we use to enjoy these long form conversations, like you get to kind of know people intimately. And so like there were a couple times where I was having to kind of check myself because maybe he doesn't know that you know that about him. Like maybe that should come up like in a gentle
Right.
conversation.
How do you bring that
between
up? How do you be
friends.
like, I've listened to all your stuff
Hey,
and
you
I
remember
love
that
you and you're
one time
amazing?
you were talking about
then-
this, and he's like, "No," but I'm like, "Oh, it was like episode 732."
Right.
Like what else? Like
You don't want to weird him out.
it's a weird dynamic though. Like that's
we
a
could be
totally
together, Shane.
new. Yeah, Shane,
Damn
I know so much about you.
Yeah.
I listen to your podcast to the end, which makes me know that I'm your favorite. Because we always say that. Anyway, it's cool to be validated, and it's cool to like fucking just do something because it's fun, and then
Bingo.
and then because it's fun, and you like you realize that you can kind of take it to another level, and not only are you having fun, but you're also creating an escape for other people.
You can make it good because you love doing it. It's, you know,
And that comes through.
You don't-
I always know a fraud.
man, like if you paid me a whole bunch of money to be a reporter and go cover the psychedelic festival, and I'd be like, okay, I go there and write a story, but you would have done it. You're dying to do it. There's
Please.
no replacement for
Yeah.
enthusiasm.
No doubt about it.
It's the missing element that people, you know, that's what they want. They want to be enthusiastic about something and
Yeah.
bring that. If you bring that to anything and do it enough, it's gonna get good.
And I think that was something
you
that
might end up having something that's
when we made the fan page, it was like, you know, what is something that we want to do? And Facebook makes it very difficult to enjoy their platform. They really do. And it's only getting kind of gradually worse. But it was kind of this place where it was like, hey, look, we're not ever going to censor anything you say. And we didn't know how that was going to look, you know. And at the time, Facebook wasn't really super bad about it. But we were like, hey, if you say some dumb racist or sexist shit, we're going to leave it up there and let people fucking drag you so you can learn a lesson. Like, you know, like,
That's
I'm
a
not
good
going to
attitude.
delete it, you know, like, and it was amazing. Like, every now and then someone will come in and try to be an edgelord. And now that there's kind of an understanding with the group, like, they get reeled in real fast, you know? But, like, and sometimes it's like, it depending on the day. Sometimes it's a gentle, like, hey, you fucking feeling okay? Like, are you crazy posting that here? And then sometimes it's like you getting full on dragged. But typically people don't get bounced from the group or anything like that just for having an unsavory opinion. It's like, hey, these are all learning experiences. And by offering that grace, tying back to what we were talking about in the beginning, it's opened up like real, I hope anyway, it's opened up a space for like open and honest conversation where people are trying to learn shit. And also where people feel safe to come in, like, because I don't believe that you truly create a safe space by censoring speech. I think that the way that you create a safe space is by allowing people to feel safe to share their true selves. And if that comes out as some kind of antiquated thinking, well, then it gives them an opportunity to kind of learn how that doesn't play anymore, you know? Like,
yeah, you learn to get safe by learning that it doesn't hurt you.
yeah, like,
you know what I mean?
Like it's okay to remember the sticks and stones.
Right,
May break
it's
your
a-
bones. You know, like
it's
okay. And you know what? Also, I grew up in the fucking South City, St. Louis, and if you said some shit like that to the wrong person, like, it would get you hit in the fucking mouth too.
Right.
Like, and that's the other.
That's
thing.
the space that I want to live in.
Right.
Like,
you
what is this
test your
fucking-
boundaries?
Right.
You know,
If I get out of line, someone will hold me accountable. You know,
that's the deal. And I
but
can't
we're gonna
get
say
better.
whatever we want to say here.
I can't get better if we don't have that agreement, you know. Now Facebook has changed that a little bit in that straight up, it's more dangerous for me to leave up a post. And when I say dangerous, in the sense of the group's standing, it's more dangerous for me to leave up something that might be considered partially false. And it could be a fucking Onion article. It doesn't matter. If somebody writes anything that has vaccine in the post, they're going to put a thing up. They're going to put a thing up.
That's creeping me out.
And if I don't delete it, if I don't delete what they deem as false, then what it tags the group and they will threaten to shut the group down. So I make it kind of known to the group that if for some reason
we could do a whole
Facebook
episode
says,
about this. How
"Dude,
far are they going to take this shit?
it's fucking crazy." And my thing is what they've done is they've made me the trigger puller. Like, if you want to censor speech,
Boom. So that's what they've done.
Yeah,
They make
they make me
sensitive
take the
to hold
action.
things, take things down,
fuck
so
that.
they don't
so
have
that
to.
so that they're not technically censoring
And
speech.
that force right there is this force that's driving us all crazy.
Yes.
It's this force of, I don't want to do it. I know it's not the
I'm
right
being
thing
forced
to
to do it.
but I have to do it. That's the corporate weak fucking, that's the thing. That's what they do at, that's what they do at public school, right? When you were a kid, and you're like, "What's this stupid?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's stupid, but it's school. Everything's stupid." And it drove you crazy as a
Yes.
kid.
Yes.
That
Yeah, I'm gonna do this because I said so. Like,
So fuck
that's
'em.
fucking dumb.
Leave it up.
Also, like, if you think it's so bad that it's potentially hurting, like you can't say, like, and I get it, like, whatever, private companies, fucking whatever they can do, but like, also you got there with fucking you get there is definite government interference with your platform. There's a whole thing that Facebook in general is a whole CIA fucking operation, and I'm not above believing that either. Like when we start to find out the shit that they've done,
are friendly toward each other. I'm sure Facebook is very friendly to all demands.
100%
that come from there.
Yeah, 100. Well, why wouldn't they be? And
Play
so
the game.
and also like. There is this weird battle that's taking place between Apple and Facebook right now, which is kind of weird that they're kind of at odds, because I would have thought, if you would have asked me, whatever, fucking honestly, a couple years ago, like, who's the bad guy? I would say, well, fuck Apple. They steal your fucking data. They hold all of your data hostage, your pictures and everything else. But actually, Apple's the one that's standing up saying, we've always been somebody that sold a product. And Facebook has turned it to where they've now turned the consumer into the product.
Yeah.
And the consumer are people that pay for marketing. And it's really frustrating if you're a streamer or something like that. Like, if you can see, like, we've had continual growth. It looks like this. Like, our fucking fan growth, our, the amount of views and everything, it goes like this. But then, like, our minutes watched, like, people are engaging in our content for longer. But as far as the number of people that it hits, Facebook throttles down because we don't pay them money to do it. And there is no way to have like an organic following. And like, I think it was like the Chicago Tribune or something like that. They had 500,000 followers to their page, and when they would do an unpaid for boost, it would only reach something like, call it 5,000. So like 1% of their following. Well, what's the point? Like, anyway, like that's a whole nother thing for a whole nother day. But to make me the agent that has to pull the trigger, like, why don't you just fucking censor the speech and then let people, and also to be able to do that and not have like a live customer service dispute line, like somebody that I can say, well, no, I didn't do anything wrong here. Here's why. Well, no, it's going to get sent back to a bot, and then that bot's going to decide whether or not you did indeed break the rules or you didn't. And like, what is going on? So anyway, I hate the platform. It's awful. But the main thing is like with the group was we were trying to make a place where people could come in and talk about crazy ideas, talk about aliens. Like, I want to have a group that talks about conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
But how would we ever share anything if everything that we share is like, well, this is only partially true or partially false? Or,
what's it gonna do? What's it gonna lead? I guess it's gonna make someone's gonna come up with something better than Facebook. I guess it's gonna lead to innovation. I guess, right?
Maybe, but
the fun of the internet has always been the wildness of it, and they're slowly throttling down the wildness.
And blockchain's gonna take that.
They want to get it under control.
Yep.
And I guess we come up with something new. I guess I don't know what the thing is.
The blockchain is going to change that. Crypto is going to change that. A completely decentralized internet. I believe in it. Our kids are going to come up in it a little bit more, but we have a huge opportunity with it coming on board. I think that it's got the ability to put integrity back in elections. Like there's a lot of different things that the blockchain is going to solve that the internet is not, which that'll actually tie us into the rabbit hole if you want to get us started with the rabbit hole.
All right, let's go take a little trip down the wait. Now we're going to take a little trip down the rabbit hole. I hope there was audio to that thing.
Maybe.
Nothing on.
Yeah, there was. Yeah,
okay,
it was great.
Cool.
Will, I showed you a little something before the show, and we were talking about the blockchain, and we will kick back to the blockchain in a second here. But what about? Well, let me just pull up the article here. The recently launched Lost Tapes of the 27 Club project uses AI software to create songs in the style of musicians who died at the age of 27. One of the featured tracks is called Drowned in the Sun, and it comes pretty close to replicating a Nirvana song written by Kurt Cobain himself. With opening guitars starting out restrained before reaching a crescendo in the chorus, the track is reminiscent of Nirvana's signature hit Come As You Are. Its chorus sounds like something Cobain might have written too, with lyrics like, I don't care, I feel as one, drowned in the sun. As explained in a Rolling Stone feature, Google's AI program Magenta was used to analyze the pioneering grunge band's music and create the instrumental track. An artificial neural network was then used to generate the lyrics, while the vocals were recorded by Eric Hogan, frontman of an Atlanta Nirvana tribute band. So I played it for you. I'm going to post the link to it in the deal in case anybody wants to listen.
It's a solid fucking song, and Nirvana's my favorite band. And I'll tell you, it's
Yeah, like if you being
I hear
a huge
people
Nirvana,
try to be like Nirvana-ish with their music or whatever.
Totally.
You can't recreate that. That's all like.
I was gonna say,
blown
being
away.
a Nirvana fan, like it would have been real easy for you to be like, nice try, but if you would have told me, hey, this was an unreleased, we found this in whatever Kurt.
Could've
If
fooled
you
me.
could have lied and said that, you had a hit on your hands.
Yeah,
Because they released an unreleased Nirvana song, maybe up 2005, somewhere around there, and
Yep.
it was just an okay track.
Yep, but it's
You're
Nirvana.
talking about,
It was
you know,
Nirvana,
You're
and it was an
Right, that
unearthed
song,
track,
yeah.
and it was a hit. This is a way better song. This is
song
a solid song.
so good.
great.
And it wasn't just Nirvana. I played one from Amy Winehouse for you, which
Sounded like Amy
it
Winehouse to
sounded
me.
like an awesome jazzy Amy Winehouse tune. And then take it back a little bit further, a Jimi Hendrix tune that I'll be damned if that didn't like even Seth was like sitting at his computer was like, was this Hendrix?
Robots can make art now.
So robots can make art. And
Better
That
than
was
a lot
the
of
thing.
humans, I will say.
That was the thing I thought they weren't going to be able to do.
Every
I thought
fucking
they would be able to
AI,
make art.
every AI
not bad,
song we
though.
heard today was better than a lot of the stuff.
It made
that
me
you'll
immediately
hear on,
think,
the
like-
point.
yes.
The
Like
mainstream
they were
shit, the
as
shit
far
that's,
as like the
spoon
state of
fed to
rock
you.
music. And I know I sound like an old fucking curmudgeon, but like mainstream rock right now is like it feels like it's just on its last breath. Like
it's
I just
butt
I
rock.
I don't even know what I'm wishing for because like I don't like super poppy music anyway, but like also I did kind of like it when some of the most popular music was like rock music, and like that doesn't seem to be existent anymore.
Not
We've
at the
got
moment,
like
yeah.
we've got like hip hop, and then we have like country hip hop, and then we have like really poppy shitty bubblegum country, and then
Well, no, it's just
and then
just
we
a
have
country
like
accent.
just like
The only thing
right.
country about it's the guy's
Ex-
accent.
100%.
His tight pants.
At the same time,
His
the
Wranglers.
best country music ever made is being made right now.
Also that then you but there's
And the
been a
best-
pushback.
there's
on
some
that.
amazing
you got
artists
Sturgill,
out
you
there.
got Tyler Childers. You
They're
got,
just
like,
not, but the corporate, the mainstream is garbage.
So I was like, I think part of me wishes like the
I want
nostalgia.
to hear the
in me-
AI spit out a Sturgill album. Like, let's just, it
probably
It
can.
sounds like it would be pretty good.
I'll bet it would be great.
It made me wonder, feed it 10,000 hours of stand-up, and it spits out a decent hour special.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Like, can it?
Why
does
wouldn't
it
it?
get pros? Does it get like Can it?
if
maybe
it doesn't, it will.
it will. It will get better. And so actually posting about this, I was telling you a little bit about my cousin. My cousin and his wife have a folk Americana group of Sea and Stone. They are tremendous, and I mean, right on par with the Head and the Heart, the Lumineers, Civil Wars. Like they're every bit as good. And before COVID hit, they were going on tour with the Lumineers. They were going to open for them, and he was telling me like from their recording and things like that, they've made friends in Nashville, and one of his buddies is like has written multiple #1 country songs, and that guy was like a couple years ago said, I'm legitimately worried if I'm going to have a job in a couple of years because of these AI. They figured out what the algorithm, like they already knew that kind of an algorithm kind of existed to write like a catchy pop song, but like now that the computers have it, well, fuck, it's not that hard to deconstruct and put all the pieces together.
It's
And
pretty simple.
that's kind of crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty crazy because I think that you're right. I think that art was the kind of like it's this art takes soul.
Right. It can't make art.
And straight up,
it's
like,
making a pretty good fake.
I would have thought that I could have called out like a shitty AI written Nirvana
Right.
song.
I can't.
But like that Nirvana song,
I was impressed.
that Nirvana song, if it's released in 95, is
What's
a
it gonna
number
be in
one-
10
number
years,
one.
man?
What's it? That's what I'm saying. It's only getting better.
There's not going to be bands. It's just going to be like Gorillaz, how it's like a cartoon.
Well,
those are
little
real people,
cartoon,
but
yeah.
they have like the
I mean,
Cartoon
a few
projections.
years ago, I would have told you there's no way.
Yep.
But now I'm thinking like, well, if the AI is spitting out good jams,
What? Yeah.
how would I even know that it's an AI? They don't have to tell me.
Well, straight up, like I'll tell you this:
Until you go
the
to buy
AI,
tickets.
The AI wrote a couple of songs that I prefer to whatever, like mainstream pop, like rock is. Like I would rather listen to that AI Nirvana song than fucking whatever I flip on the point and listen to right now.
Just give us another Nirvana album.
I don't know. If you guys get a chance, click on that link. There are, I think, 3 different. And actually, if you follow the YouTube channel, I'm sure you can probably get the whole album of, I'm sure there's a Janis Joplin one, Jim Morrison, I would think.
Yeah, there's a Doors.
Anybody that died, at 27. So
there's one for the Doors. We were a little choppy there, so I changed our background. That rabbit hole background is a little elaborate.
Yeah, it's a
so
bit.
I went ahead and changed the background.
Takes a lot of rendering, no problem. Well, yeah, we're good going back to that. Are you guys familiar with the artist Beeple?
No.
Okay.
Beeple.
Beeple, Beeple.
The Beeple.
You introduced me to him today, and I actually pulled some stuff up.
Beeple is like he's a digital artist, and he did this thing where he released a different piece of art every single day, which is fucking unbelievable, for 5,000 days. 5,000 days. He released just a different piece of art to the world. And matter of fact,
how many years is that?
Just
you
to kind
Google image Beeple.
Yeah, that's what.
And he likes to use a lot of iconic figures.
Yeah,
I
so
noticed
a lot of it's
he's a big fan of using Buzz Lightyear. Huh. Like here, I'll throw something on here now for you, Craig. This is a piece he did. This is Mickey Mouse coming out of somebody's head with some kind of claw-like hands.
Okay.
A futuristic city of sorts is what we got here in the background, seemingly.
Yeah, so like it's very kind of
familiar.
futuristic. He's got a lot of different looks, and he was releasing kind of different. There we go. Okay, so that's what Seth's talking about there. There's Mickey blowing out of the head right there.
And because it's all digital, he can crank these things out because he's just.
Yeah, well, I guess, but man, I mean, I'll tell you
This
what.
is really fucked
I
up when I got
make
here.
digital art sometimes, and it is very involved. Like
he made a piece a day for 5,000.
5,000 days. It's insane. So
That's.
he's a really interesting cat.
That's like 6 years.
A lot of his stuff is very, politically motivated, whatever. It's all of it is really good. It's very thought provoking.
Here on the screen now, we got Trump with some kind of demonic-looking
Cthulhu
tentacles
coming out of
him.
his
He's holding up
stomach.
what appears to be a Bible, maybe, and one bloody hand
So, and he's got an upside down cross on his forehead.
on his head, and he's got
really
blacked
weird.
out
Yeah,
eyes.
so a lot of that really weird, thought provoking shit. for
Nightmarish.
sure. And so I listened to this the other day. So we talked about crypto just a little bit. We talked about the blockchain. There's a new kind of trend in crypto called NFTs. I'm not sure if you guys have seen anything going on with it, but NFTs are non-fungible tokens. And so what they are is they're a cryptocurrency that is attached to there's an awesome Zuckerberg right there that is attached to a tangible asset. So it'd be a way for you to offer digital art that people can collect that couldn't be replicated. Okay, because it's it's on this blockchain and it's basically taking bits from all over the place. There's not like one solid source code of this thing. So there's like a massive R2D2. So he did this NFT auction through what's the big Christie's was probably the big auction house, I think. He does this big NFT auction, which was a collage of all 5,000 of these pieces of art, like rendered into one JPEG. And then that was offered as the NFT. It's the only one in existence. Beeple has never sold a piece of art for more than $500. And so, so he ends up doing this NFT with 2 minutes left in this auction. It was up to $30 million.
Holy.
And then they ended up in the last 2 minutes, like most internet auctions go, the bids were coming in so fast and furious that they decided to extend it another 2 minutes, and he ended up selling that piece of art for $69.3 million. Holy shit. So and the way that it was bought, it was, I think it was also Christie's first auction that was done where they accepted cryptocurrencies. So I think somebody paid like 441 Ethereum for this piece of art, and they own it, and they're the only ones that own it. And now they have like the first digital piece of art that, you know, it's collected. And this was a dude that never fucking sold anything for more. Again, a passion project. He was driven.
Well, that was the
crazy
thing.
by this
That's the thing I wanted to come back to. Is like he did something as best as he could
for
5,000 times in a row.
Yeah. It's like the rule of 10,000.
Of course, he got
right?
really good at it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get on stage 1,000 times. I'm at 528 right now.
Really?
I count my sets.
Cool.
I feel like you don't even have anything going until you've been up 1,000 times.
You just start counting from day one?
I kept track of them. I had
That's
a little
cool.
notebook, and I just started tracking them. And I'm really glad I did now because I realized in my mind, I'm like, I need to get up 1,000 times.
I feel like that.
When I've got up 1,000 times, I'll barely start to be a beginner. I'll barely start to know what I'm doing.
Okay.
I'll almost know how to write a joke.
Sure.
That's just
Well, that's what I was going to say.
If you wanted
is
to
like,
buy a piece of art that you would hang on your wall, you're not going to buy something that you got to paint 5,000 pictures.
I
before
feel
you
like
paint
that's
a good
the
one.
case with and you know, not to there's probably a handful that catch lightning in a bottle, but like with comedy, it feels like the ones who make it big, like we see them and it seems like a meteoric rise, but most of them have been grinding it out in clubs.
There was 10 years behind the scenes that you didn't
Yeah,
see. 12
right.
years, 14 years.
Totally. And I feel like, you know, and actually I think you can see that. Like I feel, and I don't want to speak for comedians here, but I feel like a lot of professional comedians kind of have a, you know, they have a respect for someone who kind of came up the hard way versus like that guy who, no, you know, I mean, I don't know, like Dane, is Dane Cook a good example? Like he kind of exploded on the scene. I don't know if he was grinding it out in clubs before that or.
Oh yeah,
he rose
Definitely.
very fast.
Yeah,
I mean,
so fast that people were like, "Whoa, did he during the, you know?"
Sure.
But the point is like we talked earlier about going viral. One of the worst things that could happen is you go viral too soon,
and you don't have any kind of craft built.
So
up
if you're
behind
doing comedy and you go viral and all of a sudden you're selling out. And you've been doing comedy I've been doing comedy for 5 years. Let's say I started selling out places and I'm going around to the Willie Thurley comedy tour. Everybody shows up and they already love me.
and they've heard most of your jokes.
The mechanism to make me better is broken now.
Yeah.
Because right now I got to go down to Tulsa and walk in a bunch of room full of people who have never seen me before, and I got to make them laugh for my 30 minutes. And they don't know me from Adam.
That's cool.
And so that makes me bring the heat.
No
so you
doubt.
bring the heat for 10 years. And then you get pretty good. Make 20 years, you're like, man.
And you have so much material that you can kind of.
Then if
sub
you
in.
got famous, people show up and it's like, I can tear any room up for an hour. I'm good.
Yeah.
But
It's always amazing hearing like great comedians talk about like comedians. Like I've never heard any comedian speak ill of like Dave Attell. They're like everywhere he goes, he walks in. He doesn't have any. Like he might not have any. He'll riff on shit in the room.
He's one of the greatest ever.
Right. But I think like. Because of his style of comedy, like I would probably say that anyway, just because I dig how blue he is, and you know, like just kind of his that particular style. But like also seeing people, like seeing his peers validate him, I'm like, oh shit, no, okay, there is something there. Like he's not a
gimmicky guy.
Chappelle's kind of a similar situation. Like you know, like those are two guys that can walk in anywhere, any given time. Something happened that day that they want to talk about, try a joke about.
Yeah.
And
might open up with 20 minutes that's not material.
Yeah, that's
Just
awesome.
Killing.
Just riffing.
Because he's gone on stage for 20 years and practiced being funny.
Yeah.
That's all he's thought about for 20, 25 years is being funny. You can achieve, it's crazy the level these guys can.
It's awesome.
So when people go like, dude, when are you going to get a Netflix special? I'm like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, but when I do,
so that's
I'm going to hang it up.
I think a lot of people's mindset is like, they don't understand that that's the process. People think like, you win a prize and now you're famous. It's like the American Idol mentality.
Right.
You walk in there, man, I got some pretty good jokes, and you're like, you're discovered now, and then now you're a big star. Like that's not how it works.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that in really any industry.
That's true. Yeah.
No
doubt.
You got to put the work in and get good.
Well, Netflix has kind of changed
and
that.
then most people, then there's just this group of artists who are amazing, and nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
That's
about their
interesting
great
that you
art.
say that because my wife consumes more stand-up than any human being I know. And I really used to be that dude. Like I loved like when somebody's new special came out, but like Netflix gave everybody a special. And honestly, I'm not sure that that's every comedian's how they're best. Like I've gotten to where I'm having a hard time enjoying stand-up comedy if I'm not sitting in the room.
Well, I was going to say that
with the comic and
Yeah,
with the thing. Like I have a hard
it's
time.
It's not comedy, really.
I have a hard time.
Live.
It's very scripted.
If it's not stand-up comedy, it's not live. There's something about being in the room that makes it funnier. There's something that the whole magic is the liveness of it.
Yeah.
And you take a perfectly crafted joke that's amazing and perfectly told, and you film it and you watch it on a screen, and something's lost.
Well, you're married to. You're kind of married to a laugh track, or like you're like, did that joke hit? Because if that crowd's not laughing, like if you're not there to laugh at it in real time, then you're like, there's kind of this. The same way I was talking about like people imprinting on the psychedelic experience. Like people tell you, oh, you're going to see fucking jesters, or you're going to see, like maybe not. Maybe you're not going to do that. Kind of the same way. It's like, sometimes the crowd in a special imprints on the experience itself.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've heard an album where I hate the crowd because they're laughing too hard. They're like too hot.
Yeah.
They're too hot. They're laughing too hard at things that aren't that funny. That annoys me on specials all the time.
And it should.
It should.
Yeah. Like
one of my favorite
like
comedy albums that he's Joe List is a genius album, and he's sort of bombing up there. And I like it better than Too Hot. He's up there telling
who is this?
Joe List.
Okay.
New York City guy.
Joe
Killer.
List?
Yeah, one of the best guys going.
Okay.
Amazing,
I'll check him out.
But he kind of bombs on his first album, and it's great.
Yeah.
But then I've heard another album where they're
everything.
I'm like, that's not that. You know what I mean? They're just turned on, and those shows are real fun to do, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's like I said, once you get to that point
where they're not,
you're
keeping
kind
you
of
honest.
not going to get.
They're
better.
not keeping you honest.
Yeah.
And everything that you do is good enough.
YouTube stars are going around doing comedy clubs and getting that response for having not having jokes.
Yeah.
You think they're going to get good at comedy? They can't.
That's a problem. Like all of that stuff has to get kind of reeled in a little bit. I think maybe, I don't know. Like, watching my kids watch YouTubers, like the shit that they're laughing at, I'm like, you're funnier in our living room than that. What in anything that guy just said. I want you to know that.
My hope is that there's going to be a renaissance of live entertainment. Like
I thought there was going to be a renaissance of art coming this year and next year with just all of the musicians hold up and artists hold up.
Even COVID, I think there's a post-COVID wave coming, and I'm excited about this summer and things being live entertainment. But even before that, I felt like people would talk gloom and doom about stand-up comedy, like it's gonna die, it's a dying art form. Everyone's on Netflix, everyone's on their screen, and I'm like, yeah, that's a good point, but
it ain't the same.
I think this generation of kids who have only looked at screens, when they go experience live entertainment,
buddy,
they're gonna love it more than we loved it.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, I'm in the room
with
the entertainer. I can see the guitar player's sweat flying off.
Yeah.
I can feel the emotions.
No doubt.
The liveness.
There's something, like, no matter how good.
Not machines,
yes,
Craig.
Yeah.
We can't
no
let
matter
the
how
machines
good
win.
fucking virtual reality gets, it's not going to replace you feeling that resonance of an.
No matter how good the feminine robot that you get to have sex with is.
She does all the things.
Imagine.
Almost.
Imagine the AI that they could build.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
Well, that's what's going to drive it. I thought for sure that, like, pretty soon Pornhub is going to, like, as part of your subscription.
Oh, my God.
They're going to send you.
Duncan Trussell had the greatest bit, and I won't try and recreate it, but he got into that. AI and porn.
No doubt.
And when you were able to put a little
intersection,
a little thing on your genitals, and it's perfectly dialed in with your VR headset, that's the end of human interaction.
We're done.
Like, no one's leaving the house. I'm getting home from work.
We'll never leave anywhere.
I'm putting the thing on.
But that's,
no babies are being born after that.
That's the deal. Why can't I don't think it was Black Mirror. I think maybe it was Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams, which is kind of a similar show, but it's on Prime. And there was something like that where, like, even after, like, they would wear these suits that had, like, all these little phalanges on them, and so it was able to give you sensory input. That's fucking weird.
Jump right into the experience. What experience do you want?
Anything. Chris says, love you guys. Glad I was able to catch you guys. Love me some Will. I saw him at the comedy show at the studio and have been waiting to see where he pops up so I can go to a show eventually. I was so excited to see him on here. My tired brain sat loudly on my front porch. I love fucking Will instead of I fucking love Will. Cynthia just looked at me. The fact she knew what I meant was the great part. So you're just causing
I'm glad it didn't cause a divorce just then.
Oh, they're probably going to use it for.
Call.
We're probably going to use it for a little bit of, fodder.
There we
tonight,
go.
Maybe a little bit. That's when you know you've made it. That's when you know you've made it as a comedian, is when you've made people laugh so hard that now they're role playing as you in the bedroom.
You're inviting me home with them.
So yeah, Beeple made $70 million off of his passion. We need to probably get into the hot seat and the streaming picks.
I mean, I don't even have a streaming pick. If
Okay.
you want to just do a hot seat.
Let's do a quick hot seat with Will.
All right.
And I had a streaming pick, but that's nothing. We'll see what else we got here.
I'm still watching The Food That Built America.
Dude,
great.
you've got me convinced I need to start watching this.
You need to check it out.
Between Domino's and now it's what, White Castle's and Nathan's Famous?
Mm-hmm. We've had that. We had the Cola Wars, the Pepsi and Coke War. It's been McDonald's versus Burger King. It was great. That one was hilarious because like they were building. They're like Burger King's putting together the Whopper. Like, what are we gonna do? And like I guess putting vegetables on it was like some next level shit. And these guys are like putting lettuce on it, like, oh. And this guy's like, what about this onion? They're like, oh. And he bites into it, and he's like,
Before that, they
what
weren't
the
putting any veggies on the
fuck?
burgers.
Yeah. It was just like ketchup, cheese.
So Burger King is
And
responsible.
they were a lot smaller back then.
Oh,
running
yeah,
like
they were smaller.
Everything was a slider. Slider was the first thing. Everything was a slider for a while.
That's really interesting that White Castle invented the hamburger. Like, that fucks me up. Will you just tell that a little bit?
He was mad because
This is
they
great.
also
Burgers
invented
came out of spite.
They also came up with the idea of the open kitchen because people really didn't trust things like beef and hot dogs in or where it was coming from.
Oh.
They didn't like that ground beef shit. This was like new. This is like 1920s, I believe, is right before the Great Depression. And the owner of White Castle, or what would become White Castle, he's sitting there making these meatball sandwiches. And he's grilling like the little meatballs on a flat top grill. And, he came up with the idea of the open kitchen so people could actually watch their food be cooked. And the customers are just giving him shit like, dude, I got to get to lunch. What the fuck is taking so long? And he's like, you know what? Fuck this. You want your shit to cook fast? Fine. And he just starts smashing them. And he's like, fuck you. Here's your flattened out patty. And he's like, a flattened out patty.
It cooks
It looks
faster?
good. The consistency's good. It cooks well, and it cooks faster. And that was the first slider.
I just have such a hard time believing that.
Well, it's hard to believe because before that, it didn't exist. And you think, like, why didn't somebody think about that?
Why didn't somebody mash the
it seems
fucking
like
burger?
cheeseburger's been around like since the last
I heard a guy
summer.
make a point the
Like
other
they
day.
had-
How
they had
long did
it.
people carry their luggage around airports before somebody was like, put
Put
wheels
some
on
wheels
it?
on it? No
Put
shit.
wheels on it.
Well, didn't they used to
The
have like
smartest
luggage
people
carts?
in the world. Nobody, right.
Somebody made $1 billion selling
You-
fucking luggage carts. to every
Now you go
airport.
like, how the fuck did they not figure that out? But nobody thought of it until someone thought of it.
Why don't you go ahead and give your pick too while we're on it, Craig? But first, I do want to give a shout out to our good friend Seth Ferrante, who's that documentary White Boy.
Well, that's
straight
one of the
trending.
ones that I watched. I think
It's
it's like
trending. I watched it
it's
last
one of
night.
it's one of the top 10 in the U.S. right now.
I
White
finally
Boy
watched
on
it last
Netflix.
night.
It's
very good.
it's one of the most fucking maddening stories you will ever hear in your life.
It's insane.
White Boy is about this kid Richard Warshie.
And a friend of ours unraveled this
Who-
fucking thing.
Yeah,
That's what's
the guy that
crazy.
sits in that desk right there.
The whole world is shut up, phone. The whole world's, well, at least in the United States, talking about this story about White Boy and like this legend and this myth, and like he's even in songs like Kid Rock songs, like he was referenced. All
White
the
Boy
time.
Rick.
White Boy Rick.
He was a 15-year-old kid that was basically running the cocaine trade in Detroit in the 80s. But here's the fucked up part of it. Was like his dad was a gun runner, okay? He was like one of the few white kids that lived in a predominantly black neighborhood, and there were like all these like this was like the fucking the height of the crack epidemic in the fucking 80s. They're showing fucking full-on military forces kicking in doors and fucking blowing people up over these substances. It's insane. So they're trying to get some information on some of these drug gangs that are happening in Detroit, and they're talking to this kid's dad who's kind of known to be a gun runner in the area. And kid's like, I know him, and I know him. He's 15 years old. The FBI, 14 I think at the time, the FBI puts him on the payroll as an informant at 14 fucking years old. Then they start sending
Is this
him.
a series? I guess this is.
It's just a documentary. It's about an hour and 40 minutes.
I gotta check it out.
Dude, watch it. It'll fucking blow your mind.
Netflix.
You know what? Don't tell him anymore.
I won't tell you anymore.
Wait
Just
till-
all I'm gonna give you is like at 14 years old, this kid fucking took over the cocaine trade in Detroit, and
That's insane.
And yes, it's insane. And
You wanna
then
talk about
what
it?
happened was he was the victim of, whenever they were really cracking down on the crack was an automatic life sentence, I think.
Oh,
I think is
right.
what it was. So something like
or
that.
something pretty. It was heavy.
But he is, I think, to this day, the only nonviolent juvenile prisoner
Yeah.
to do life.
28 years.
wow.
Dude, it'll fuck you up. Like, as much as I fucking already can't stand, like, the war on drugs and, like, how much we've been lied to about all of this. And, like, when you start to see how some of these guys... We had, back when we were on 920, we had Gary Nesner on our show. He was the FBI negotiator during the Waco thing, and Ruby Ridge. Like, he's their fucking top dog negotiator. And when like, you find out that basically he was telling them, man, I think I'm getting through to these guys. Like, and they're like, yeah, well, there's fucking basically weapons budgets that depend on, you know what I mean? Like, that was like the ATF was kind of pretty new in its inception. They're getting all of these massive budgets to get,
It's like we got to
fucking
do
weapons.
something.
We have to do something. And that's why, like I'm all
That's
about,
the
like,
problem.
abolish the 3-letter agencies.
That's the problems with
Bureaucracy.
we got to do something.
Yeah.
We have to justify our existence.
Yes. And as long as they're giving us a budget, if we don't
That's a
spend
recipe
it,
for disaster.
if we don't spend it, they're going to take it away. So we got to spend it. And if we do spend it, they're going to increase it next year. So then we got to spend that. And that's how this shit kind of keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse.
Next thing you know.
So it's crazy to see, like, what these motherfuckers, like, dude, that is a child. I don't care if he's running, I don't care if he's running in the hardest neighborhood in America. You're using a child, and he's
He was buying cars before he was old enough to drive and walking around in fur coats.
Dude.
Hanging out with, like...
the dudes. Like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But anyway, yeah, check out White Boy. That our buddy Seth Ferrani kind of, Seth did 23 years himself. 21 years. He was sentenced to 23 or 24. But for trafficking LSD at the time he was a teenager or whatever. And so, for him, like, he tells a lot of these stories about these guys that are locked up for a long time, and he has a way of telling them that is very, very genuine. And so check out White Boy for sure. That's one that I watched this week. Other than that, my wife started Schitt's Creek, and I've always been a huge Eugene Levy fan. I love him and everything he does, and it's basically his entire family. It's his son that wrote and produced this whole show.
I loved it. I watched
It's
it.
really pretty good.
It took me a minute to
took
get into it.
Me too. I thought it started.
At first, I was like, I don't think I want to watch this.
But then once you kind of get invested in the characters,
Well, the first episode or 2 or 3, I was like, I looked at my wife, I was like, I don't like these people.
they're unlikable.
They're unlikable,
and that's the point.
And then as the show goes on, you actually learn to fall in love with them.
Yeah.
And by the end, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I haven't finished it yet. She finished it without me, so but she also started it without me, so I kind of came in halfway and watched it almost to the end. So
The performances
I'm happy
are
to go
are
back
so
to
good.
Yeah, it's really good. And like, I
what's
haven't
her
seen
name?
Chris Elliott in anything in a while.
I love Chris Elliott.
What was his show that he had on Fox back in the day? Do
he-
you remember that? Like, he had a
Yes.
fucking sitcom on Fox.
He
And I thought
hits
was
my funny
I thought he
bone,
was
man.
the funniest dude ever.
Every time he comes on the screen in Schitt's Creek, I'm laughing. Like, before he talks, I'm laughing.
Yep.
I think people either get Chris Elliott or they don't. They either like him or hate him.
Yep.
I love him. I've always loved him. And
No
then
doubt.
Moira, what's her name?
The mom from
She's,
Beetlejuice.
it's the most amazing. Her performance.
She's the best.
She's the best on the show.
That's what I said
She
to my
is
wife.
Incredible.
Moira is by far the funniest, and I
And
would
there's
have
some
never
great.
thought it.
There's some great performances on that show, but I don't think anyone tops Moira.
I think we're having maybe a little bit of latency issues, so we'll start to wrap this thing up a little bit. You want to throw them in the hot seat real quick?
We could do something like that.
I got
do it.
4. Do you have?
Oh, shit.
Well, first off, are you watching? Are you streaming anything we need to check out? What are you streaming?
What am I watching?
Yeah.
Nothing. I started the Biggie documentary. I got about halfway through that. I enjoyed that.
Pretty good.
He was slinging a lot of crack.
Oh yeah.
Big time. They were in the crack game. I thought that was all like rap talk. Do you know what I mean?
Like, it wasn't legit.
Right, like I didn't know how much those guys are. I'm slinging crack. I'm like, how much of that's real? So I didn't know anything about Biggie. I'm enjoying that though.
Well, from reading Seth Ferrani's book again, The Supreme Team, all of those dudes that came up big, like fucking in the beginning of hip hop, What was the Grandmaster Flash? All those dudes.
Yeah.
The way that they became famous was like these street gangs in these different boroughs were throwing these massive parties and bringing these dudes in. Like, do they touch on that at all? In
The New York hip hop scene in the 80s.
It was
and
completely
90s,
funded by drug dealers.
It's amazing.
Yes.
I had no idea that this was all going on.
It's
and
fucking insane.
It was this pressure cooker that made these rappers.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's
I'm into
interesting.
that.
It's amazing how many just great artists come out of blight or just
extreme
just
situation.
Tough. Yeah, well, and that's that's the whole idea, right? Is like good times make soft people. And,
Yeah, that's right.
And then everything crumbles, and then some tough motherfuckers gotta bring it all back together. You want to go on the hot seat?
We can do that.
Let's do it.
All right, you go ahead and get us started.
All right. Well, we're just gonna a couple rapid fires. I think we did this with you maybe in the studio. We might even ask you some of these questions because we just decided to reinstate this thing.
The exact same answer.
Yeah. What is your? We got music going, or do you want music going?
I got something going on here.
I don't really care one way or the other, man. Guilty pleasure song.
Guilty pleasure song.
I realized I said that like Walter Matthau.
I like that song that goes. It was just the anniversary came out the other day when it was. Don't let go. You got the music in you.
You did not. That is the fucking jam. That no.
You
get what you give by the New Radicals.
New Radicals.
And that
they
song.
sang at the Biden inauguration. That's why it came up in my mind.
No song perfectly encapsulates like the 90s.
1998,
Which is funny that you say that because that song still goes hard. I
Yeah.
love it as much as I did the day that it came out. And I was gonna say that like mine probably about the exact same time frame, way lamer than that one though, is Lynn Steal My Sunshine. I think I talked about that before.
I'm a bar.
You steal my sunshine.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good
Do
one.
you remember mine?
For the same reason. What was yours?
You'll never guess this, Will. Roxette, Must Have Been Love.
Must have been love.
Oh.
But it's over.
That might be
Check out
picking
Seth
up
hitting the
through
note.
your mic as well. I don't know. Could be potentially.
What's going on?
You might be getting an echo off the speakers through your mic if I had to
Okay.
guess. But
Roxette.
who was your?
I can
first-
actually turn my speakers down.
Who was your first celebrity crush?
Daisy Duke.
Oh, that's a good one.
Catherine Bach, dude.
That's a good one.
I was a little kid and I had Dukes of Hazzard sheets. And I
Good
couldn't
for
have
you.
been older than 4, okay? And I remember being 4 years old because I know that I was that young because we lived at that house. And I remember hiding under so it had Bo and Luke and Daisy on the sheets, and I would hide in the sheets and I would kiss her a little bit.
Oh hell yeah, you'd kiss her, man.
I'd pull the sheets down, me and
you gotta
Daisy.
give
Me and
Daisy
would-
the goods.
We kissed a little bit.
Dude, good for you. Good for you.
I mean, I still have them, and I still do that, but I did it then too.
For sure. Yeah, I get that. What'd you think of the remake of the Dukes of Hazzard?
It was fun.
I thought it was kind of fun.
It was fun.
Funny.
It was. How else are you
good
going to remake
time.
it except sort of making a fun
You gotta
comedy
make it-
parody?
Same way they did it with Starsky and Hutch. Like Starsky and
Yeah.
Hutch was actually a pretty funny little remake.
And they
too.
got Jessica Simpson,
She-
who at
she
the
nailed
time
it.
was one of the hottest chicks.
going.
You know,
no doubt about it.
I don't know if she's hotter than Catherine Bach though in her prime.
That's fair. That's fair. Mine's like, when I think about the first gal that probably made it hard, it was probably like Elvira, and I couldn't make any sense. I
Elvira.
couldn't make
Woo.
any sense of it.
Dude, she's bad
But,
ass.
yeah, she is badass. But I think probably like my first crush. I've talked about this before. I think it was probably Leah Thompson in Howard the Duck.
Oh, okay.
You know,
I
that
thought
was-
you were gonna
that was
come
my
with
jam.
Back to
And
the
not to
Future.
mention, like, if the duck can get it, I at least got a chance. Like, if she's
It's all
fucking
about
alien,
personality,
if
bro.
she's fucking alien ducks, I got a chance. That's how I thought about it anyway. I like to play the
mean,
numbers. You know.
McFly hooked up with her.
I was a big fan of her.
Well,
in
he
Back to
almost
the
did. He
Future.
didn't want to bang his mom.
Yeah.
I'm talking about his dad, the other McFly.
Oh, George McFly.
George McFly.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of which one was Marty and
Crispin
which
Glover.
Was,
Have you ever? We've talked about this on the show before. You know, Crispin Glover had case law that is now being applied today. Like in the 80s, they never would have thought that it was, but now in the world of deepfakes, like this case law is going to save so many people. So in Back to the Future 2, they made they had a contract dispute. Crispin Glover was not brought back to do the movie, but they had made a mold of his head for makeup in the first movie. And so what they did was they made a mask and then they put that on a dude so that it looked like Crispin Glover. And didn't pay him. Didn't fucking pay him. Like,
Right.
And so he's like, you can't fucking use my, so he sued him. It went all the way to the Supreme Court. And they basically ruled in his favor. They could not use his likeness and make money off it without paying him. Which nobody could have seen that as that big of a deal until now with AI songwriters and fucking deepfakes.
All of a sudden, yeah.
All of a sudden, Crispin Glover's like protecting the fucking income of actors. And
That's interesting.
Isn't that wild? Anyway, moving on. Death row meal. You got 1 day left. You can eat whatever you want. And one last time. What's it gonna be?
Man, right. I'm gonna go.
Your
With,
mom's
I'm gonna
chili?
go with one of Grandma's. Mom's chili is a good answer. I talked about that on the Willie Thrilly Comedy Hour.
Yes, you did. I want to eat some mom's
My
chili.
mom makes some mean chili, but if I could get any food, it would be Grandma's pork chops. My grandma used to fry up a pork chop with some white cream gravy.
Okay.
And some
I
biscuits.
think we did ask this one at the old studio.
I think that might have been the
stands
answer.
out to me, which makes it that much more genuine.
Which
makes it that. I mean,
so.
you're doubling down on Grandma's pork chops. See me, I'm a spiteful fucking guy. So like, if it's my death row meal, I'm gonna eat something that's gonna make me shit all over that room when they electrocute me.
There's a Daniel Tosh bit about.
Oh,
that.
is there really? Because
Where
that's
he's like-
I'm going.
It's
I'm
so
gonna
funny,
eat
it's
3
like-
Qdobas with nothing but
Qdoba's great. I had it for lunch the other day.
Some fucking
No,
stuff it full of beans and whatever else is gonna make this horrible for them. Give me a
Just
fucking
right.
gallon of coffee and
Give me
His
some
bit's
hard-boiled
great.
eggs. I'm ruining. Fuck you guys.
That's a
That
good
Daniel
take. That's a
Tosh
good way to
bit's
go.
great because it's something I've always thought about. Where they're like, "What do you want your last meal to be?" And he's like, "I don't know, not really hungry. Don't know if you heard I'm getting murdered tomorrow." So it's like, "Give me a burrito."
Yeah, I get it.
So you're gonna have to clean some shit up.
I get it. What's your favorite smell?
Oh, we already went over this. We did smells.
Yeah, we did.
Well,
We're
is it
just
the same?
regurgitating some old ones.
I'm trying to.
We have like 50.
I spent tires. I spent lilac bushes. I like lilac
those
bushes.
are good
I'm a
ones.
lilac and tires kind of guy.
Yeah, dude, like I get both of those though. Like I usually don't opt for
Petrichor,
super floral.
the smell of rain. That one's hard to beat.
Bellicor, smell of old books.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I like all those weird fucking.
I used to go to the public library when I was a kid and go through books, and I remember the way specific books smelled. I remember I had a karate book. I had this book about, it had pictures. I had to do karate. I used to rent it a lot.
I bet you did. It was like me and Tron. I was
Dude,
certain that I was gonna
1987.
ride a light cycle.
If you were an American boy in 1987, you didn't want to be a ninja. You weren't.
I was a
American
ninja
boy
6
in
Halloweens
1980
in a row.
Yeah,
A different
Karate Kid
costume
was at
every
its
time.
peak.
Yeah,
but
fuck
this
yeah.
book smelled like cologne. It had a smell, and you know how sense tied
Yeah,
to
and like
memory.
outgas is weird. Like it's a weird. Yeah, what is that?
The smell,
awesome.
the smell of that whole basement. The kids section was the basement.
I dig it.
man. Oh, I love it.
I haven't been in a lot. What the fuck's the matter? I haven't been in a library in
Yeah, what's a
too
library?
Too long. I'm going. You know what? I'm going to a library this week.
I used to go
because-
a lot. I never go anymore.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a big fan of the library. Those are great answers. Do you have any for them there, Seth?
I can go ahead and throw out some older ones. Okay, here's something we debate. Me and Craig have debated: pineapple on pizza. Are you team pineapple or not?
I don't have a strong opinion about it. I'm not ordering
Everybody
it.
seems. I think you're the first person that doesn't.
I'm not ordering it. I'm annoyed with it. I'm not reaching for it, but I'm not gonna not eat
Yeah,
it if
I-
that's
I
all
get
there is.
that.
So no,
I
I don't.
understand that.
I'm a no on it. But I'm not one of these people who's gonna like stab you over it. People
Yeah, I
really
will.
get.
I'll cut you.
People get. It's what's
No,
that
it's,
doing
it's
on there?
like honestly, like I've had pretty strong takes on it. Seth's a big fan. This goes back
had
to
it
that
for
sweet
lunch
and
today.
salt thing for me. But I think the reason why I don't like it is because of how much I love pizza and how much I love pineapples. I love both of them.
I do
Pineapples
too.
are arguably my favorite fruit.
I love pineapple.
But I just don't fucking put it on my pizza.
My wife's allergic, so I don't get to eat pineapple
I
hardly
think that's
ever.
some bullshit.
Yeah,
I mean, we're all kind of like pineapples are attacking us.
he'll tear your mouth up.
Yeah, he'll fucking go at it. But that's also, I think, why.
I think they're extremely acidic. And
I think that's
like,
why
if
it
you
makes
eat
our
away at
ejaculate taste
intestines.
better. All right. So on that note, do you have any more?
I got one more for you. I'll sneak in one more. You can go back to see any band in their prime from any decade. What
I like that question. It's a good one.
band you gotta go rock out to?
Man, that's a really good one, a tough one.
Mine was Nirvana, but I mean, shit, I can just.
Yeah,
listen to the
I got a
new
robot
AI.
that can do that for you.
Yeah, we could just do a hologram.
I
Kurt
think I gave
Cobain
this
with
answer
brand new
too last
songs.
time you asked me that. I think I said I'd see Bob Dylan in 1966.
You 100% said that.
1965.
You 1,000,000%
Bill,
said that.
Dylan at his peak. I've seen him as an old man, growling out his stuff, but
Yeah.
him at his creative peak, or really, yeah, I would see Dylan at some point. I'd see him on the Rolling
Dude,
Thunder Review tour
you
in
know,
1975.
It's awesome because I just have never really, like, I had never got Bob Dylan. Like, my parents didn't listen to him a lot, and it wasn't until I was older and like could hear what he was writing.
I didn't get into him until I was like 25, and then I really.
Well, that's
got
just
into
it. I
him.
found a penchant for singer-songwriters, and I'm like, holy fuck, how old was he when he wrote this song? Like, this is some deep, heavy shit. Like, don't think twice, it's all right. He was 19 years old when he wrote that song. Like, what? You know,
Mind-blowing.
like that's really insane. I think what kind of
now
softened
he's
me
like
on him a little
85
bit
and he's still
was,
writing.
Like, I love the Traveling Wilburys, and so he was with them obviously for quite a while. That's a great pick. Mine would be like probably Pink Floyd, somewhere in between, like, yeah, probably like when Wish You Were Here probably came out. That was probably a bitchin' tour with wicked lasers and shit. I would think
I would love to go way back though. I would like to be in some like Mississippi juke joint
see
and
Robert Johnson
see
or
someone
something.
like one of those troubadours come through,
No
because there's no
doubt.
recordings of that.
No doubt.
We don't have pictures or video recordings of that. Like, we just know those guys tore it up.
No doubt. So much so that, yeah, like this whole thing came of it. Right?
Can you imagine, or maybe seeing some early rock and roller, some Otis Redding in his prime tearing up some joint? I would.
Dude, Sam Cooke live at Harlem,
Yeah.
like that. Like Steve and I've talked about that. Like, I love. That's
Or I would
also
like to be-
something
I
that
would
you
like to be in
should
some of those
check out.
1952, 1955 jazz clubs in
No
Chicago
doubt.
or New
Nina
York.
Simone or
Everybody
something like
dressed
that.
up to the hilt. Everybody
yes.
smoking cigarettes. and
That's my
just-
jam. I'm into it.
I
An
think-
old Rat Pack performance. Like, let those guys get
If
there,
I could
cut some
just
jokes.
go back in time, I'm going back.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm
Yeah.
with you on that.
I wouldn't have to go too far back. I think really like seeing Green Day when they were called Sweet Children at Gilman Street in California in like 87, 88.
Yeah.
That'd be fucking rad. Or seeing them at a high school because they played at like
That'd be fun.
cafeterias, basements. Just
No
a
doubt.
show like that.
Dude, honest to
See
God.
a band before they were big in like a basement. That would be a cool fucking show.
Straight up, my connection to like Linkin Park, like there was really, I never really heard anything like them when they hit the scene, but like I was going to see the Cottonmouth Kings, like that was who I was going to see.
Really?
Yeah, and Linkin Park opened in this little fucking club in Springfield, dude. It was
Missouri or Illinois?
Missouri.
Yeah,
Tiny fucking little place. It's called the Juke Joint. And they came out and like they put on a performance that fucking it was all I talked about for like, a week. Like, me and my buddy left that show like, hey, Cottonmouth was cool and all these other guys were cool, but what the fuck was that? Like, they're going to be huge. And it was like just a couple days later they debuted on TRL or something, and
Took off.
then it just took off. So like that was to be able to get like that fucking
That's
like I
cool.
saw them at the little place fucking experience.
Yeah.
Because what you can tell like with some people it's like, well, it's the last time I ever get to see him
It's the
here.
last
I've got a
time I will
buddy
see
who
them.
used to see the Avits every time they come to town. They go play fucking
Hey,
off Broadway.
I seen Avits. I saw Avits.
Yeah.
I saw them in some small rooms.
And that's the shit. Like that's
Yeah.
the way to enjoy the
Yeah.
Avid Brothers.
Yeah.
Um,
I saw them before they got big
Yeah.
multiple times. It
Fuck
was
yeah.
amazing.
It is amazing, and
I
they still
saw-
fucking put on a great show in a big
But
venue.
you're
man,
going to be
when
in a
you get
big
that
venue. It's
intimate-
not. Yeah.
My wife and I, Miss and I, went and saw Phosphorescent, who's a guy that's really, played a pretty significant role in our relationship, and like has been there through some heavy medicine journeys. And there's some crazy shit going on outside here. Oh, okay.
On a journey.
Got to see him at the Ready Room, and it was like we were standing this close to him, and I'm like, I don't care whatever happens from here. Like as far as his career goes, like this will be the best show that we will have ever seen of his because
Right.
it's never going to be more intimate than it is right here, right now.
I'm a big fan of Jason Isbell. And
Oh yeah,
I saw him right when Southeastern came out. The first leg of the Southeastern tour was at Off Broadway.
whoa,
And I stood 20 feet from the stage. And then he came back a year later, and he was
Fucking Peabody.
he was big, but he wasn't Peabody yet. He did like was it Fubar or what was that?
Yeah,
What
no,
was
it
that
was.
place?
It was
that the
Fubar.
place?
I saw Devotchka there.
And then off Broadway the next night. He did Friday and Saturday night. I went to both shows.
Fuck yeah, good for you.
He was blowing up. He was getting big by then. And then by the next time he came around, Peabody.
Yeah.
I saw him at Peabody once, and I was like, well, this is still
It's
good.
cool, but it's not the same.
But I saw him at Off Broadway. It was like I had 2 tall boys, maybe 3 tall boys, and I was just into it.
Yeah,
you know what I
man.
mean? I was
Yep.
just locked in with the band, every song, singing all
Fuck
the
yeah.
words. Ugh.
Let's shout out your socials and anything else that you might want to close with. We didn't even get to the psychedelic news. I'll give it to you real quick. The University of Wisconsin, yes, Wisconsin-Madison. I'm gonna check it real quick. I'm gonna fact check myself here. There we go. Yes, University of Wisconsin at Madison has now started a master's program for psychedelics as therapeutic treatments. So they're the first university. A new master's degree program starting this fall at the University of Wisconsin-Madison will prepare students for careers studying the therapeutic effects of psychoactive drugs to treat mental illnesses such as depression and post-traumatic stress disorder.
That's great news.
Dude,
That's
it
amazing.
is
That's
amazing
surprising.
news.
I'm
I'm
surprised
reading
that they're out ahead like that at the
right now.
university.
I mean, there's plenty of university work. Here's what it is. Every day I was talking about this a little bit on the show last week. I get like every time something is posted about psychedelics in the Google algorithm, it compiles them all, and then at the end of the day, anytime psychedelics were mentioned in a new article, new posting, gets emailed to me. It's a good way to stay on top of it. 95% of them are like investors things, like, you know, investors briefings, the different investment opportunities to get into the psychedelic space. And you know, it's one of those catch-22s where if that doesn't happen, then all of a sudden it's not a viable thing for universities to develop programs for people to work inside of that market. But, you know, there's obviously a shadow side of that where people are trying to patent fucking certain chemicals and processes and things like that are really frustrating. I'm reading Pikal right now, which is Phenethylamines I Have Known and Loved. It's a Pikal, a love story. And it's written by Sasha Shulgin, who's the guy who famously resynthesized MDMA, and he basically fucking, wouldn't say invented, but discovered like every phenethylamine known to fucking man. He also wrote a book called T-Call, which is about tryptamines, and he's talking about, like, you know, in the 50s, you know, most of the like most gifted chemists and scientists, like, this was the field of work that they were choosing after they did something of note. You know, like, for instance, he developed a pesticide that Dow Chemical Company made billions of dollars off of that was safe for crops. And, you know, and so as a reward for that, they gave him a lab to study anything he wanted.
And they wanted to study psychedelics?
Chose psychedelics. He chose these chemicals that,
Yeah.
based on an experience he had had with
This is
mescaline or whatever.
obviously early on before it all got illegal.
Yeah.
shut
This is
down.
like in the, you know, in the 40s and 50s, and like and
So much
really
exciting
some of
research
the
going on
most
back then, and then it just
that's the
shut it
thing.
all down.
And we talked about a little bit about having somebody validate your experience. It's really hard to do with psychedelics, and when we do scientific studies, we insist on a double-blind study. Well, a double-blind study requires an objective truth, but there is no objective truth to measure in the psychedelic space.
Interesting, right.
So he came up with what he called the double conscious study, which was basically, you know, a way for people to be able to share these different things and then see where kind of stories matched up and where experiences kind of matched up, and then that's kind of how you validate these different things. Of course, they still took measurables. Anyway, I'm getting in the weeds. Point is that most of the most brilliant minds in chemistry and biology and things like that, after having done kind of something that was practical to the machine, the money-making machine, most of them chose to do this because there are infinite worlds in there to explore that unlock these, you know, different and better pieces of them that allow them to be more well-rounded in this 3D space. And so I forgot kind of what led us to there. Oh, well, like, so now University of Wisconsin-Madison is offering this program. That's cool because it's only ever been like professors and like, you know, like in the case of the guys at Michigan that we went and met a couple years ago, like they're working in labs at these universities and they're trying to write theses on them. but there's not really a place for them to then legally take their practicum.
Right? You can't do it outside of a
What are
laboratory.
you going to go do? Everywhere else you go is going to be illegal, and it's not going to be.
The idea is that eventually, though, there's going to be a market for this. People are going to want to go pay a therapist, and then get into the psychedelic space with the help of a therapist. This is the new market, right?
Yeah,
I see coming.
100%.
And I hope it doesn't. I mean, hopefully it can stay. It doesn't get ruined, right, by all the players trying to.
I don't think that it will go the way of like cannabis in that cannabis is like a product that is being made available to everybody, and that's really not the angle that they're taking with psychedelics. They're trying to decriminalize it. They're trying to decriminalize possession of it, which is key. But they're not really trying to set up like a brick and mortar, a dispensary.
Some of the people are going to consume a lot of it.
But it does open the door for, and I hope, and there's people trying to advance legislation in Missouri. It is coming along. DC they decriminalized, I think, pretty much everything. And not even just natural psychedelics, but I'm pretty sure LSD and DMT. Well, DMT is a natural psychedelic, but LSD was in there. So yeah, man, like we're making headway. We are making headway. And we're going to lose some of that too. But you know what? There's always going to be people who want that more allopathic Western medicine approach to things that will still probably want to take this clinical drug or trial in a controlled, sterile setting. I think they're going to find out real quick, and I think they have found out with a lot of the MAPS practitioners, that if you kind of cut out the fluorescent lights and you make it a nice warm place, it's a lot easier to get somebody to kind of work through some shit versus having them strapped to a bed with
some of the people who are really wound up tight and need this real bad might need that assurance that there's a doctor here.
No doubt.
Don't worry. Yep. If you have a physical freak out, you're going to be fine. There's a doctor who's going to tell you that you're fine.
Yes.
Okay, a doctor told me that. Okay.
Great. Yeah, because otherwise you're fine.
Yeah.
Man, I'm in a lot of different groups, and this gal's her first. You'll like this one, Seth. This is like her first LSD experience, and she ate like 24 hits of acid.
Jesus fuck.
And I'm like, first off, you have shitty friends.
Yeah.
Like you have
seriously.
You have shitty friends. Like
how could you let somebody do that?
How could you let someone do that to themselves? And also, like, it was a bunch of people kind of trying to talk her off a ledge, basically. Like, she's like, I'm thinking about checking myself into the hospital. I'm like, you don't fucking want to do that. Like, just know that you're physically safe. Maybe get a nice, warm, cozy blanket, flip on Netflix, text your boss, you're not coming, whatever. But they're not going to do anything for you in a hospital except put you in a room with beeping monitors and monitor you until this levels out. So let's try and figure something. Unless they're bold enough to give you ketanserin or something like that, which can pull you right out of a trip. But I don't think that's only clinical. Like, they were just talking about that shit at a symposium.
There's no way they're going to know about that.
Nobody's doing
total
that
access
yet.
to urgent care.
Exactly. Like, anyway, there is one of the stories that was cool in this book was him talking about this older therapist who has been administering MDMA as a therapeutic tool for 5 decades. Thousands of couples he's helped with this. Like a fucking like a rogue therapist who's like, no, this has immense value, and he's right. I mean, that's the thing, is once you have this experience, it's like it's so hard to go back and hear people like even kind of speak ill of, well, it's just crazy drugs or whatever.
I've never had the MDMA experience. I want it. Never tried it.
I would like to do it that's one of those that I would actually like to do in like with a therapist, because I've only ever done it in kind of a more, a more party atmosphere. And because of that, I don't know that I've ever really gotten into like the heart opening aspect of it.
Yeah.
Dude, there are people that think...
I bet it's amazing. I've heard it's amazing for couples therapy.
That's the thing.
Because people can let go of some hurts for a minute and actually hear each
and
other.
to be able to speak about hard truths or way that things make you feel, and not put your partner on the defensive when you're talking about it, even though it might be something that they're doing, like the value in that tool is, unbelievable. So,
PTSD as well, right?
oh,
PTSD
man,
is
big
amazing
time.
for that.
At the end of From Shock to Awe, the documentary that we brought a bunch of people in that showed, really battle-hardened veterans come back from Iraq and Afghanistan, and they do these ayahuasca ceremonies to bust these. I mean, they were taking trash bags full of fucking pharmaceuticals and no quality of life. Two of them were doing ayahuasca, and Matt Cale, he's a friend of the show. He's called in a few times, and gosh darn, I'm missing the other guy's name right now, but Cooley is his last name. But anyway, his wife, at the end of it, she did an MDMA. They both did ayahuasca, but she had done, because one thing we never really talk about with PTSD is we talk about all these soldiers and all the and first responders and all the horrible shit they've seen. But very rarely do we talk about what the PTSD attached to being the spouse of someone with PTSD, and like that person having to hold shit down, and all of the responsibilities that are along with that. Like there's trauma involved in that as well. So she had gone through a very successful MDMA experience as well. And actually, I posted something on Hoosier Sophisticate today that their MAPS is in conjunction with like Parangi and Desert Dwellers. They're doing like this multi-city fundraiser for MDMA assisted therapy, like a documentary for MDMA assisted
do an
therapy.
episode of it.
I'm into it. Let's fucking go. I'm ready. Let's do it right now. We'll do that. We'll do a different episode with a different chemical every week. On the backside of a different chemical every week. Let's shut this thing down. We went real long. We went 3 hours tonight, Seth.
Yeah, I know. I'm starving.
Okay, buddy. Let's get you some grub a dub dub in your little tummy tum.
I don't know how you guys can sit in those chairs that long.
It's a good 3 hours, but
Good company.
time flies.
It went by fast. Will O'Donnell, one of my favorite comedians in St. Louis. Make sure that you let me know any kind of dates that you have coming up. We'll get them on the page. We'll make sure people come out there. We've had some fans say they miss, they want to come out and see your next show. Looks like you hosted an open mic the other night, last week.
I did. I hosted the Funny Bone open mic last week. I had a real good time.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. That was fun. I came out 3 weeks ago to see you guys on Max's little showcase, and I correct me if I'm wrong. I think that was like the first showcase back after the
Max's.
Yeah, and
we've done it in a long time.
Outside of our little event that we had in Festus, which was awesome, it was my first time going out to like any kind of live entertainment, and holy shit, did I need it, man! Like I was so happy to allow myself to just be entertained and laugh, and found a fucking new comedian that I love, Willie C. That's his name.
Yeah.
He cracked me up.
We had two Willies on the same show.
Yeah.
Willie C. and Willie Thrilly.
There wasn't enough. You guys should have had a duel at the end of it. Anything else you want to drop?
Willie
on
Thrilly
these
Comedy Hour. I go live every Wednesday at 3:30.
It's one of my favorites. One of my favorite things. I kick it.
It's on my Facebook page, but I'm also on Instagram. Willie Thrilly Comedy.
At Willie Thrilly Comedy on
Thrilly
Instagram.
Comedy. So
cool, man. I dig it. Well, thanks for coming in, brother.
Thank you, Craig.
We appreciate you. Seth, take us out of here, my man.
All righty.